From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio.
Don't do that.
And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? Good evening. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Father here, father there. Happy Father's Day, Carrie.
Happy Father's Day, Brian.
And you were listening to Smith Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. If this is the first time you've been on a show, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hit the share, hit the like. My name is Brian Smith. I was in the Air Force back in the 90s, and this is my cousin Kerry. He was in the Marine Corps back in the 90s. We've been doing this for about 10 to 15 years, talking back and forth about politics for hours and hours on end, and decided one day, you know what, we got to document all this. A lot of great stuff is just being lost to the ether.
That's right.
And that was the start.
Nice. That's the start of the show.
That's the start of the show.
Yes, it is. Awesome.
Well, now you know we have an Apple.
Well, they may not have even heard that very well because unless you're like speaking right into the mic, it's a little bit muffled, but okay. Maybe they heard it. Whatever.
All right. Well, cool.
So it was actually good timing with the start of the show and everything.
Yes.
We'll probably be sued.
Maybe so. I don't
Steve
know.
Jobs will come up out of the grave. Like,
he owes us money for that, for promoting the equipment.
Right.
And I tell you what,
I didn't even think about
the
that.
guys that I work with that love PC refuse to speak to me any longer. Even the IT guy, because he's not a PC lover. He's a what's the other one? It's open source something or other.
Linux.
And I said,
but Linux is just an operating system. You're talking about like Windows versus, the Apple operating system versus Linux.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So anyways, I digress. So happy Father's Day. So my father and your father both listen to the show. Thank you for listening. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
And is there anything that did your family do anything for you? They make you breakfast or?
They didn't stop me from working today.
That's so nice of them. Thank you.
And thank you for the customer who did actually notice that it was Father's Day, but not until I showed up.
Oh, okay.
But I knew if I didn't come, it was over with.
Wow. Well,
the joys of contracting.
Yeah, good times, folks. Good. When you run your own business, it's not a 9-to-5 job. And if you ever run into those people that say, "Yeah, I started a business and it just didn't work out," ask them, say, how many hours a week you put in?
Right.
No, it's a life. It's your entire life.
Right. 24/7, pretty much. And also, you ever hear those people, and you probably thought this yourself, sick and tired of having a boss. I want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
Well, here's how it really works. You go from having one boss when you have an hourly job or salary, whatever. You're working for the man. You have a boss.
Right.
You go from having one boss to having hundreds, or at least dozens, maybe hundreds to thousands of bosses. Every customer turns into your boss.
And I want to apologize to those customers out there that I have sorely offended over the years. I apologize.
But was it your fault?
Probably was.
Well, the customer's always right, so
that
was your fault.
Right, and that's my problem. It was back then. I mean, I was a lot younger, and I was not ready to I wasn't ready for it. Anyways, I digress. But we got Donald Trump at the helm right now, and things are going fantastic. The show tonight, we've got a lot of great things we're going to talk about. We're going to go over. This is the week in review, in case you didn't know, and then we're going to expose a lot of details about things that the fake news will try and trick you into believing, and we'll tell you about what it really means and what it really is. So North Korea was big this week again. Donald Trump.
It was the biggest.
I mean,
people were talking about how your grandchildren will be cracking open a history book one day, and there'll be a picture of what we saw this week.
Correct. Well, if they tell the history correctly.
Well, there'll be a picture for sure.
Yes.
I mean, what they say about it is, going to be up for debate.
Will they omit the picture from the G7 summit? The one where Trump is sitting back in the chair and all of them are going down at him like...
No, they're not going to omit it because they're going to use it to fulfill their narrative of Trump being this defiant bad boy while all the adults in the room are trying to shout him down. That's what the picture looks like. But anyway.
So we've got a lot of incredible news. We've got 2018 elections are coming up really, really soon. However... in the news, deep news, townhall.com, ConservativeTreehouse.com, even Breitbart News. A lot of things are being exposed. And I don't know if you know this, Carrie, but folks who run campaigns or folks who help to run presidential campaigns in the DNC, they're always, the next 4 years, who we're going to get. And we got to start now.
Oh, yeah.
Who we're going to do, who's going to do it, what's going to happen. And since they lost out with the Clintons and Obama's already termed out, what do you think they're thinking now?
I can't even imagine, because I'm thinking in my head what kind of shape they're in. And it seems like they're in such bad shape that I hate to say this, because every time I hear people say, I don't think they'll ever recover. You hear that every time a Republican wins. You'll hear, wow, the Democrats are really in shambles, and I don't see a light at the end of this tunnel, and I don't know how they're ever going to recover. You heard the same thing when the Democrats were winning about the Republicans. When Obama won, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're going to do. They're in such shambles, they're never going to recover.
Hold on, that might have been true, because I didn't know what we were going to do either.
Well, we ended up getting Trump, so we did recover. Right. And so for me to say, I don't know what the Democrats are going to do right now, seems like I'm falling into that same old pitfall. But I tell you that with the context of me being aware that things normally turn around.
Right.
But things are that bad with the Democrats that I'm like, what are they going to do? They can't run on communism like they've gone full-blown. They've gone full-blown on communism.
And we're going to talk about DACA. That was up this week. Why was DACA brought up this week? Because the Democrats want to move on from some of the great news that's going on.
Right. That they did actually just throw. There were people that I follow that are like, why are we suddenly talking about DACA? Like all of a sudden. I mean, there's the budget stuff going on with Paul Ryan and everything, but it definitely seems like something that is very intentionally trying to distract from the great news coming out of the Obama or the Trump administration.
Right. So there's an article. There's 5 reasons Trump will win 40 states in 2020.
What? That's it? I mean,
you can't get the East Coast.
Reagan won 48 states. Or 49?
Well, he's 40. I think it was 49. 49
states.
Well, here's the thing. He's saying at least 40. I mean, he's cutting it off at that threshold.
That's a low bar considering what we're looking at here.
Right. Well, he's got 5 things that he talks about this from townhall.com, Kevin McCullough, and it's a great piece, 5 different things. He used these 5 different these 5 different physical things. If a candidate does X, Y, and Z, they'll win the election. If they get at least 3 of the 5, they'll win. Obama had 4 of the 5, and he called Obama's win in 2012, or early on.
Okay,
so we'll get into that. It was Trump's birthday this week.
Oh yeah,
happy birthday, Trump! And Trump got a birthday surprise, incredible surprise. We'll talk about that as well as the Democrats. Yeah, we just talked. Yeah, there's some expletives in the Democrat Party going around screaming at each other.
At each other?
Yeah, I slipped that in. A little teaser.
Sweet.
The IG report. What? Report about what?
500 pages of nothing.
539 to be exact. Something like.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. There's a reason why that was way too long. So anyway.
Mark Levin. I got the video of Mark Levin. I cut it up into 3 different segments when he was on Sean Hannity's show. Not that I disagree with him, but man, it seems like he's going to give himself a heart attack if he don't calm down. He's all fired up.
Okay.
Mark Levin. And if we can
That's
get
his MO, though. Right. That's his shtick. And let me tell you something else, Mr. Producer. Oh, man.
And we also have Russian collusion, and somebody went to prison.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't be colluding with Russia.
And who would send that person to prison?
The deep state?
You will be shocked at the judge that went
ahead.
Oh, no. Yes.
Oh.
The judge will shock you. A little bit of, like I said, a little bit of DACA. And let's start out with this one, because this one nobody's talking about, yet I keep hearing about this stuff from our buddy Jack Posobiec.
Okay.
Because he tweets out about that. And some of the other folks. Folks, this is, we are Donald Trump's legacy. And when I say we are Donald Trump's legacy, I don't mean me and Kerry personally. you, we, us, Jack Posobiec, the Mark Dice, the
Mike Cernovich's, all of them.
All of them, all of them. I'm telling you, folks, this is where it's going to be coming from. This is where it's coming at. And Jack was tweeting out about OAN.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
OAN.
Well, he works for them now. He just recently got a full-time gig with OAN.
Cool. Yeah. No, I absolutely love him on YouTube. Great information. Really good stuff. OAN. It's the new media out there. No bias. He's just out there giving you the real news, folks. So we are Trump's legacy. And the media is not talking about this. More than 2,300 suspected child sex offenders arrested nationwide.
Right. And that kind of lends credence to all of the conspiracy theorists, right? I mean, it's really disturbing. You know, you got the Pizzagate thing, and they've turned this Pizzagate thing into a way to discredit people like your Jack Posobiec's and your Mike Cernovich's and even us. You know, we went and investigated ourselves at Comet Pizza. We wouldn't have gone if we weren't morbidly curious about what the heck all the hubbub was about, right? So
didn't see anything, didn't smell anything, but I tell you what, you could feel the ghost.
Well, it turns out that you learn a lot about the way the world works when you end up going and seeing for your own eyes the Comet Pizza thing. It turns out that, and I'll give you, this is the really quick rundown on Comet Pizza. The guy who owns it is a very, very close friend of John Podesta. His Instagram made it incredibly crystal clear that this guy was a very, very, very sick pedophile. Very sick, very obvious. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's also the WikiLeaks email, the John Podesta emails that end up at WikiLeaks that had some very strange emails that seemed to – it was circumstantial evidence. It was very circumstantial, but it was very odd using language that if you know he's a pedophile, which we're not 100% sure of, but if you highly suspect he is, they're disturbing, really disturbing emails.
The spirit cooking.
You know, I think
I had no idea what the.
I think that might be unrelated. I mean, spirit cooking is like they're all sick. People that do the spirit cooking and people that do the pedophilia, they're all sick. But I think that
it's sexual perversion. It's all wrapped up in a ball of sexual perversion.
But if they want to do those rituals that we call
with
spirit
adults,
cooking,
with adults,
yeah, I mean, you know, who am I to judge somebody on their weird ritualistic cult behaviors or whatever? But the pedophilia obviously is troubling. But here's the thing. So the guy that's friends with, I think it's James Alefantis.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't think that's his real name because Alefantis in French means infant lover.
Oh, no.
Yes. So,
what's
yeah, that's just a coincidence, right?
Who's Alefante?
He's the guy that owns Comet Pizza and the adjacent properties. He owns like that whole. When Brian and I went, so Brian knows, it's like a mini plaza,
right?
So it has it's one building with like a whole bunch of businesses all in one giant, whatever plaza. So anyway, clearly the symbolism used there indicates that pedophilia was on the mind. Yeah. All that being said, the idea that they were using the business to actually conduct a child sex ring, I think, was conflated. I think people were wondering what the hell John Podesta's doing. Who is this friend of his? What is this business that he owns? And I just think that we have a pedophile that owns a pizza place and a couple of different establishments there. He used his interest in man-boy love and man-girl love or whatever to make up the symbolism and all that. But I just don't see how they would. It's too hot. Like, it's too dangerous to do something that illegal in a place like that, in the middle of D.C. or on the outskirts of D.C. I think that whatever they are doing, and they have the means. These guys are either billionaires or have connections to billionaires, which is why you have Lolita Island and all that kind of stuff. They have means to do their diabolical acts without having to do it on the outskirts of D.C. at some pizza parlor that anybody could walk right by. It's a very small establishment. The idea that you would have...
Well, Obama partied there. The Clintons partied there, which is really strange.
They did do private parties, but I just don't think it's not safe enough for them to do that. You see the movie Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
They had their crazy, spirit cooking looking whatever ritual in a gigantic estate. Huge. It was a giant mansion. They had a huge property with an outside fence, gate, whatever, with armed guards on the outside, and you had to have a password to get in. That seems a little bit more plausible because there's an expectation of privacy because of the amount of space of protection. Comet Pizza does not allow for that, which is why I just don't think it's realistic. I think it's just, hey, look, this is the property that the raging pedophile owns, and that's all you can say about it. And that's my conclusion. I mean, does that sound about right to you?
No, it does. But here's the thing. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's not front news. Front news is Jamie Foxx is being accused of assaulting a woman with his genitalia.
Oh, you mean smacking somebody upside the head with...
Apparently that's what he's being... And that's news, but this isn't real news. I mean, they're not talking about this. And this has been going on since Trump's been president, folks. Trump has really been unleashing... the folks like the 3-month operation dubbed Broken Heart ended in May after being conducted by Internet Crimes Against Children, ICAC.
Right.
The task force.
So the pedophilia is real. The funny thing about the Pizzagate is that they're trying to show you that since they can discredit the Pizzagate story, that all of the reporting about child sex trafficking rings and whatnot must be fake, and they'll say, "Oh, here comes the Pizzagate crowd," right?
Right.
You know why they're doing this, right? They're protecting the pedophile friends of theirs. Either they're pedophiles themselves, or they know that they're going to get special favors if they can protect the pedophiles.
Right. And so this article I got off Breitbart News, and they talk about the entire task force that's located in 50 states, comprising of 4,500 law enforcement agencies at the federal, state, and local levels. It says state, local, and tribal levels.
Wow. That's interesting. Interesting.
I had to double check that.
Who wrote that? Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer.
Yeah. So anyways, folks, know that Donald Trump absolutely... When people say that Donald Trump doesn't care, or Donald Trump doesn't care about the children, oh my goodness, I think he cares more than you and I will ever know, especially when...
Something's got to be connected there, because if the child... Look, these things didn't pop up out of nowhere, right?
No.
These would have been around for years, or if not decades, or even longer, right?
Correct.
So under Obama, you never heard about reports like this. And this is the Department of Justice. This would have been something that would have been recommended or started or whatever under a certain president, and you didn't hear. I never heard about it during the Obama administration.
No, not at all. And since we're speaking about children, and now that was big news this week, DACA back up in the news.
We've talked extensively about DACA over the years. I just was telling some of my friends that the first time we really had a serious discussion about illegal aliens, DACA, amnesty, and whatnot was, well, we've talked about it long before the presidential primary. However, where it got really heated was during the primary when Cruz was really, really rip-roaring. He was number 2. Trump was leading. Cruz was number 2, and he was really trying to catch up. And they started this campaign where they were going to tell everybody that Trump was going to give illegal immigrants amnesty.
100%, all of them. Just flip it.
They said if you elect Donald Trump, we're going to get amnesty. That was what their argument was. I'll never forget it because we had a whole show about how I basically had to thought experiment it through, and that's when I realized, well, you have a choice. You either give some amnesty, or you do Trail of Tears.
Right. We've talked about that.
Right.
Yeah, without a doubt. And folks, we're not going to have Trail of Tears. Donald Trump has too much of a heart. He will figure a way out so the Trail of Tears doesn't happen.
Right. But I do think that, like, if somebody's trying to cross the border with a whole family, this is the big news this week.
Right.
That you cross the border, they detain you for breaking the law, crossing the border illegally. Well, you have your whole family with you. So as you're detained, you are separated from your children, and that's where they're really trying to hammer the Republicans hard.
And why? Why are they separating from children? Because grown adults cannot be held in a facility, detained in a facility with children.
Right.
Just flat out.
Separated.
That cannot happen.
Right. It would be like if Bonnie and Clyde had children, and then they didn't get killed by the feds.
How dare you, Carrie? How dare you separate them?
Let's say they caught them alive and they had kids.
Right.
They're not. Bonnie and Clyde would not have been allowed to serve in the penitentiary with their children.
No, and if you are, even if you're a citizen in America, and this has happened, where a mother or a father or somebody is driving down the street with their kids in the car, and there's something that they're doing that is extremely dangerous, or something that they've done to where the mother or father will be detained or arrested on the spot.
Yeah.
The children will be taken and separated from them. They
Right.
don't ride in the back of the cop car with the parents.
Right. You lose your kids. And that's a big reason why parents, people who have children, take
extraordinary precautions.
Well, they take law enforcement so seriously, because if they're not on the straight and narrow, they could lose their kids. And so that's the whole thing. If you're at the border, you're in Mexico, and you're either Mexican or maybe you're from south of there. Yeah, maybe you're coming up. By the way, I learned from one of our very generous patrons today, or not today, but sometime this week, that they give South Americans, non-Mexican South Americans, 30 days to pass through their country. Total amnesty for 30 days so that they can make their way to America. So they're not allowed to stay in Mexico. That was the reason it was brought up.
Yeah, because if you jump the Mexican border, normally you're shot at.
Well, you'll definitely get arrested. Yeah. However, they got this new policy now where you have 30 days. Whether you have complete blanket amnesty, but you have to make your way to the American border. And that kind of adds a lot of stress and pressure, right? You're at the border. But here's the thing. You know, and by the way, shouldn't we be telling foreigners that you will be separated from your children?
Trump has been doing that.
This is a deterrent.
No, Trump has said, you come to this border, I promise you, and to all that is holy, you will be separated from the kids, from the parents. You will be.
Right.
That is no joke. It's a fact. That is what will happen.
So use that as a deterrent, and then after that, after you tell them what's going to happen, it's on you. If you're sitting there at the border and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going. Look, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Did you hear about all the people that were arrested in the trailer?
Yeah,
it's like 29 or some odd people that were detained. They were caught living in a trailer together. Could you imagine living in one box, no walls whatsoever, with like
no windows?
30, no windows. I mean, the only door is to open up the back, and you're living in there. Why? Because, well, I get to be in America. Guys, look, the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. If you want your life to be better, whatever country, whatever S-hole country you're in, you've got to do what is required to make that country great again.
Yes, and as Smith Radio, this is what we do to continue to help make our country great again. All the new news media, this is why we're doing it, is because we care about our country so much, and granted, I know we are better off in America than anywhere else in the world. I understand that, but we can't take that for granted and let that slip through our fingers. However, if you live in an S-hole country, do something. Don't just run away and come. Don't run away.
Do you remember the video we showed years ago? Maybe not years ago, months ago, with the guy with the jars of marbles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, he was talking about. Well, we don't have it. It's a long video,
yes.
but he was showing how many people we rescue like refugees, and that somehow this is some sort of a humanitarian act to bring them into our country. And he was showing how many marbles. The marbles represent so many thousands of people. And he would say this jar represents all the people in America, and this is all the people that we take in as refugees. I think it was one marble.
Right, blue and yellow, colored different colors.
So you had this whole jar representing the entire population of America, and then one single marble represents the amount of people that we take in to help. But then he brought out the jars of marbles that represent the countries that we're trying to help, the population. And it was like these huge stacks, these huge giant jars full of thousands of marbles. And it just shows you how we're not really helping anybody by bringing people here. In fact, he points out that we're actually hurting them by taking their best people. And in fact, their best people should stay in their country so that they can use their brilliance, intelligence, and hard work ethic and whatever to make the place that they're living better. Not, hey, this guy's great, let's bring him to a nice country. What are we really doing here?
Right.
So
No, I agree 100%. So Donald Trump tweeted out this week, Democrats can fix their forced family breakup at the border by working with Republicans on new legislation for change. This is why we need more Republicans elected in November. Democrats are good at only three things: high taxes, high crimes, and obstruction.
Yikes.
Sad.
They added obstruction these past couple of years, apparently.
Yeah, and so I've got So Donald Trump had an argument, a back and forth. He was out on the White House lawn, and he gave a little press briefing on the lawn outside, just kind of an impromptu thing.
Was that with Steve Doocy?
Yeah, Steve Doocy was standing.
He literally only came. No, Peter Doocy and Steve Doocy.
Yeah, there was two.
Steve's the older one. I think I saw it. It was Steve.
Okay, he walked up to Steve. He did that back and forth interview with Steve. But then he did another one with Steve's son, Peter Doocy.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Patreons. Thank you, the folks that are in our group. Someone tweeted that link to that YouTube clip to me. And, absolutely great stuff. And the title of it was, I love how Trump handles the media. And it was like a 10-minute long, 15-minute long thing. And Donald Trump literally, it was they were screaming at him. They were yelling at him. And Peter Doocy was the only one. He stood right next to Trump with the mic in his.
Yeah, the story I heard was he wasn't planning on giving any kind of press conference of any kind.
Right.
And he saw Steve Doocy. The video I saw was of Steve Doocy, and what I understood is that Trump saw him and said, "Oh, that's Steve Doocy," and walked over and decided to give him an exclusive interview because.
Go ahead. Yeah, he is a good guy, and I've got a couple of audio clips of that, but that's about North Korea. Donald Trump was doing this with Peter Doocy, a second one, and the media was around him, and they were shouting questions and yelling at him and screaming at him, and Donald Trump the whole time was, hey, he put his hand out to their face, like to mug them, or he put his finger, quiet.
Like a father.
Yeah, like he had to manhandle these. I mean, they were cretins, is what they were. It's just awful. And I might have that clip, but one of the it was a back and forth, and she was screaming at him about why would you lock these children? Why would you separate them at the border? And he's going back and forth, and he said to them, "No, you don't understand. Democrats can fix this." She said, "But you have the House and the Senate." He said, whoa. We've got 51. We need 60.
Oh, wow.
We've got 51. We don't have the votes, and we don't. So don't go spinning that narrative. We need 9 more Democrats. If all the Republicans voted, which it just wouldn't happen like that, I don't think. But they need 9 more Democrats. So this whole narrative's just it's insane. But he kept throwing it back in their face. It's Democrats. It was happening under Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Children were being separated and put in cages. Am I right?
Yeah, well, the picture that showed the kids, it was like a chain link fence type. It looked like a dog kennel. It looked like a dog kennel.
Yeah. But they did a close-up of it.
They tried to say, oh, look what's happening under the Trump administration. And they were, trying to freak out. And then somebody, I don't know who did it. Thank you. And I wish I could give you credit, but I don't know who did it. But somebody said, let's look into these pictures. And they found out that the pictures were from a time when Barack Obama was president. So this happened under his watch.
Right. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, as strong as she is, just told him flat out, fake news. That's
right.
Obama picture. So we've got Christopher Steele, who I used to like. I no longer like him anymore.
I used to like him too. I don't know what the hell happened to him.
You will say he's gone straight despicable. It's unbelievable. A black politician, man, strong. At least I thought he was strong, conservative. No.
If you've been paying attention this week,
anymore.
he is clearly highly compromised. He definitely has picture and video evidence used to blackmail him because he used to be a very strong-minded conservative that would stand up for George W. Bush policies back in the day.
Right.
And
now not so much.
I don't know what the hell he's thinking now.
So this is Christopher Steele and on MSNBC with a lot of two crazy women. You've got to hear their words. Listen to their words, folks. This is where the Democrats are running on. People watch this news. Like, middle of the road folks, independents, people who don't know anymore or any less. And, I got older guys at work that still kind of watch the evening news or whatnot. So Democrats are definitely watching MSNBC. This is what they're hearing. And if you're just an average Joe American and you're not hateful for Trump or hateful for the Democrats, but you hear this kind of stuff, I don't think you're voting Democrat anymore. So let's get that going.
It is not the law to separate, and this is an important fact check.
Yeah.
It is not the law to separate parents and children at the border. That is not the law.
She's wrong on that, but anyways, I digress.
It's their interpretation of the law. We are, or used to be, America's greatest democracy. We can't find a solution to this problem without harming children, without putting them into concentration camps.
And I would...
What? Did she say concentration camps?
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, my gosh. Oh.
You want to hear what Christopher says?
Let's hear it.
To say, Stephanie, to that point, it's not even an interpretation of the law. It is a policy.
A new policy.
It is a policy that has been invoked by the President of the United States and dictated to his Attorney General, who goes out and quotes the Bible. By the way, a passage that was used to justify slavery in this country, to justify encamping children. I call this a concentration camp for kids because that's exactly what it's turning out to. When you give kids 22 hours of lockup time and 2 hours of air time, what else can it be? And if this is where this country is going, the American people need to wake up and pay attention because your kids could be next.
Right. Okay, Jeff, take us.
What? The American citizens' kids are not next.
Carrie, your kids are next. Your kid is my kids are next. We're all next.
I think the law's on my side. Now, if I were to break the law, and the thing is what do they put them in child protective service? Is that what they should do? And then at that point, then what happens? What if you at some point you're going to send the parents back? Don't you send the kids back with them, or do you keep the kids? Do you kidnap the kids? I don't understand. What in the hell are they thinking? And here's the thing about concentration camps. I know historically a concentration camp is they're using the right phrase, concentration camp. But since World War II, we understand concentration camps to be used for one of two things or both. One, forced labor.
Right.
And the other, extermination.
And it's all Nazi-related stuff.
Right. So to use the phrase concentration camp in this day and age with the context of World War II, I think is disgusting. And they need to, you know what? Just say it. Keep saying it.
I'm telling you, you guys are offending the hell out of everybody.
Yeah, there's actually liberal Jews who are like, what?
You just said my grandparents had tattoos of their numbers And they escaped.
They're offended. They're offended, and rightfully so. I think, if you're going to talk about concentration camps now, after World War II, in the context of that, you better be talking about exterminating a race of people or whatever, or religion or whatever it might be, because that's really what we know of concentration camps today.
And if you think you're trying to pin, or this helps to pin the word Nazi
that's exactly
on
what
Republicans and Trump, and I'm sorry, nobody's buying your Nazism, and we're not buying racist, bigot, sexist, homophobe.
Yeah.
We're not buying Nazism. We're not buying none of that no more.
It's funny the way you word that. It sounds like you're talking to them, but if we were going to talk to our audience, what I would say is, don't worry. You're not buying it, and neither is any of your friends, any of your fellow Trump supporters. Nobody's buying it. And by the way, the Democrats know it's all a sham. And your average person at home, this is why false allegations of being a Nazi, being literally Hitler, and being a racist, a bigot, homophobe, all this kind of stuff used to work. It used to work because people did not want people to think that of them, whether they were, and your average Joe, just they only had one thing to go by when they would hear it on TV. If you're a Tea Party guy, you're a racist because Tea Party people spit on black congressmen.
And so Glenn Beck believed that.
Call him N-word and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Glenn Beck obviously didn't help by being a coward that he is.
Yeah.
But back then, people really believed mainstream media. When NBC or CBS would come out with a report that would actually say that, everybody would be like, oh my gosh, I cannot be associated. I have a job.
Right.
If my boss found out that I went to a Tea Party rally, I'm going to be fired for being a racist. That's how it went back then. And it worked. These false allegations worked. Fast forward to today. We have all the information that you will ever need almost instantaneously, definitely within a couple of hours.
Right.
Of anything that happens in the world, thanks to YouTube and Twitter. Twitter's remarkable. I mean, it's a shame that it's founded by and run by a guy that seems kind of clueless, actually. I mean, sure, he's a liberal hack, but I'm actually kind of disappointed in his overall intelligence. But that's just me.
He tweeted out a picture of him saving money at Chick-fil-A using the app and was literally shamed
into apologize
and removing the picture.
Well, first of all,
by the LGBTQ mafia.
He had to do a big old apology, and he was dead serious about it, and he was actually worried about the ramifications of having eaten a sandwich from Chick-fil-A. First of all, you're dumb for not – if you're a virtue signaling, white knighting, whatever, liberal, you're going to know already to not eat at Chick-fil-A. And then if you do, you're going to try to keep it secret. He did neither of those things. And then third and finally, you're going to not be such a coward, and you're going to stand up for your actions. Right. And he did none of that stuff. The guy is just sad.
Clueless. So anyways, to wrap up this DACA section, Jack Posobiec tweeted out just recently, said 900,000 children are permanently separated from their families every year in America by abortion.
Right. I thought that was a brilliant tweet. I'm mad at myself for not thinking of that first.
Me too.
But it's true.
Democrats, you own this. You own this. Your platform is the platform of calling people names, racist, bigot, sexist, homophobe. Your platform is the platform of blaming everybody else for everything going wrong.
And also, you have lost the ability to say, but what about the children? Because of abortion. Jack Posobiec just pointed out, and you know what? I think it's his MO because it's not the first time he's done this. Any time a liberal says, but what about the children, in any way, shape, or form, you're going to get abortion thrown in your face.
Right.
It's as simple as that. And rightfully so, because you're hypocrites. You don't care about children. You don't care about anything when you're basically conducting an American Holocaust by infanticide.
Right, and it truly is something that needs.
And mostly people of color.
And when you say, what is your platform? And your platform is supporting freedom of choice. We want women, nobody to own a woman's body, nobody to own this or to own. No, that's not what it's about.
I would guess that 50% of victims of abortion are female. So, right? So aren't you murdering females?
What if you go down the middle of the road, 50% of the babies that are aborted are women.
Yeah,
50% of the babies
or
aborted
not women,
are
but female,
girls,
right?
Female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're obviously not caring much about women. Think of how many. I mean, it's whatever number it is per year that are aborted, divided by 2, and that's how many women you've killed.
Right.
So
now you guys, the Democrats are now going off the rail. People clearly see that Donald Trump is creating a field, helping to invoke world peace. People see that Trump is literally helping to create world peace.
Making it look easy, too. It's amazing.
Ain't he, though?
Yeah, the thing went down so smooth. We're talking about North Korean summit with Kim Jong-un.
Yep.
It went down so well.
And I got the video.
Awesome. Great. It went down so well that at some point during this whole thing, I'm like, initially I was like, oh gosh, where's it going to go wrong? Where's it going to go wrong? That was my initial thought is, there's so many different things he can do. He's got a history of doing certain things that, could be considered, backstabbing or whatever. If you look at some of the
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. So I was thinking, this is going to go wrong. This is going to go wrong. Yeah, I'm not thinking of Trump screwing this up. See, the liberals, they look at this and they're like, oh my gosh, we're leaving this up to Trump. And they think that this is a disaster because he's such a buffoon.
Well, not only that, but if it goes good,
they got to give him credit. Yeah.
Then what?
Did you hear about that poll they did?
I don't know. Maybe.
There was a poll conducted, and I'm sorry I don't have the actual. It was a show. It was an instant poll where they polled the audience, and I think that's part of the show. And they said the woman who is the host of the show is the woman that hosted the comedian that hosted the press correspondence dinner.
Oh, that awful, horrible woman. Wolf that I actually believed.
Michelle Wolf? Is that what, Michelle Wolf?
That I actually believed in the news article that was fake news about her admitting and having to go to jail for bestiality.
Well, the fact that you believe that it must be true is not a good look for her. That's not a good look. No. When you hear that somebody conducted in a sex act with an animal, and you're just like, dude, this is totally true.
You know it's got to be true.
That's not good. That's not good for that person. But anyway, she did this poll of her audience. Don't you wish that this thing with North Korea goes south, at least so that you don't have to give Trump credit? And 70% said, yeah, I wish. Oh, I think it was, don't you wish we were nuked by North Korea?
80%.
I thought it was 70%.
78.
70. Wow. That's like almost everybody in the audience. So they won. And what this proves, do you have the exact text?
Oh, yes.
Go to images. You'll see the image on there, the actual question. Click on images. You'll probably see the picture of it. Yeah, on the left right there. Yep, click on that and read it.
Are you sort of hoping we don't get peace with North Korea so you wouldn't have to give Trump credit?
71%.
71 to 29.
Yeah, so what that means is that it really is all about partisan politics. It's not about the country. That just proves that it's about not giving the man credit because, and at any cost, including war or lack of peace or any kind of improvement of our country, which of course means improvement for its citizens. They don't. You think of any issue whatsoever. They want black people to fail so that they can blame Republicans. They can somehow attach a policy or a statement that some Republican said or some Republican implemented that they could say, this is why you guys are poor or whatever. And so they don't care about anything. that they say that they care about, including and especially America. You all know that they're anti-American. I mean, that goes without saying. But for all the groups of people that they claim to want to help, it goes the same way with them. They want everything to fail so that they can attach a Republican to it. And they hate Trump so much, they hope they can attach Trump to it.
And all they ever do, you guys know this, they promise to make things better. And in all reality, it's actually their fault that things are getting worse in whatever sense of the realm. The 80% I was talking, 79%, Time.com. So I'm assuming this is maybe connected to Time Magazine. It looks like
Time.com is that's their website.
Okay. Time.com. Friday's meeting between South Korean President Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un prompted 78% of respondents to a Korean research poll published this week say they trusted the North Korean leader.
Who was polled?
South Koreans.
Wow.
That's a far cry from the 10%. Oh, sorry. That was North Koreans. And that's a far cry from the 10% of South Koreans who said they approved of Kim in a Gallup Korean poll.
Oh, well, this isn't even news.
Just a month and a half ago. Okay. So here's the thing. People over there, they're obviously divided and split. But the people in North Korea, they want to be better. They want to make a come up. They don't want to have to live like they live. And everything that I've seen this whole week, and all the documentaries I've seen on North Korea, Kim Jong-un's grandfather, his dad, both of them really, really bad dudes, but both of them raised up in a communist regime, communist society, closed society, very paranoid, very closed-minded, very standoffish.
Well, we know Kim Jong-il because most of our entire life he was the president, but Kim Il-sung, I think is Kim Il-sung,
grandpapa,
is the one that was installed as president by Stalin, and he was a radical. He was radical. So, didn't you tell me that he was like a freedom fighter or something like that?
He originally was a freedom fighter, but he was fighting against in that region. He was fighting against big government takeover, and he was kind of.
How ironic!
It was really strange how he was this head of this this fraction of people who were fighting takeovers and whatnot, and then all of a sudden during World War II, he went ahead and joined Russia to fight with Russia. And while he was fighting with Russia, apparently Stalin had gotten wind of him and found out what he was all about, and that he had some type of leadership, and said, hey, we're going to make you head of this whole country. And once he did, he said, no problem, I'll play ball.
Yeah, and then he ended up handing it over to his son, which was Kim Jong-il, who, he was just a hardliner, old school communist. And then comes Kim Jong-un,
who is a millennial. He's a millennial.
He's a millennial, which is interesting. But you're like, yeah, but he's in North Korea, which how do you even compare that? Well,
where'd he go to school at?
Right. It turns out that it's common for very, very wealthy, powerful people, which wealthy's relative, right? So wealthy for their country. Of North Koreans, these would be like government officials who are the top-notch government officials in North Korea. It was common for them to send their children to school in Switzerland. And so Switzerland was okay with this because they're a neutral country, but North Korea is so cut off from the rest of the world. They actually thought it was a very good thing that the leader was sending all of his children to their schools because it gives them a connection to a country that nobody else outside of China has a connection to. So they were like, all right. Well, of course, they were sent incognito. They had like fake names. Their first name was real, but then like some of I guess their last name was made up.
Smith.
Something like that.
Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson. And so they actually had to do a little bit of intel to figure out, oh, this is his son, whatever. And all the sons went there. But anyway, so here's a guy who was raised up in a Western education.
I mean, he had to go through airports, through security. He saw all different cultures, all different walks of life.
Right.
He lived those walks of life, and do not think for 1 second he did not wear blue jeans.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You don't think for 1 second?
He was probably dressed very Western. And also, one of the things, and I actually can really relate with this. When I was a kid, I don't know when it happened. Maybe it was because some of my friends in high school, just some of them really loved basketball. And I never played basketball or anything like that, but I decided, well, everybody's talking about this game that happened last night and this tournament coming up and whatnot. Let me start watching. And I kind of fell in love with it. Well, my friends would go out and actually play basketball, so I decided, well, if I'm going to hang out with my friends, I guess I'm going to go hang out and play basketball, which is what they're doing. And so I started doing this ritual where I'd go to school, come back from school, and then we'd go right to the park and start shooting hoops. And whoever was within walking distance of that park would show up, and I was ending up playing against and with these people every single day. And this went on for months and months and years, actually. And it was, it was right around that time when White Men Can't Jump came out.
Yeah.
So it was like it became really, really popular for a while there. Turns out, based on this documentary, this is almost precisely the upbringing of Kim Jong-un.
Because when you see Dennis Rodman going to North Korea to talk basketball, and Dennis Rodman said that Kim Jong-un, he loved the basketball.
Yeah, he played it in Switzerland almost every day.
And for those that are not informed by media or history or something, that North Korea, I didn't really even think two thoughts about. I just knew what it was about and just left it alone. But once you dig into it, you realize, of course he loves basketball. Why would he not?
Right. I mean, he played it all the time. And also, because he was in a Western country, he was probably able to watch a ton of games. He probably became a big NBA fan. You don't think that NBA isn't shown all over the world? He probably had a favorite team.
Right.
Maybe Dennis Rodman was somebody that he particularly followed. Or maybe he just remembers him from playing for whoever he was playing for at the time. But then he comes back to North Korea, and they got to basically hijack whatever signals they can get to watch this kind of stuff. And I think that he thinks his dad and his uncles and all that are just a bunch of idiots.
And think about it: if he's going to,
he's rebelling,
right? And if he's going to a university, and he's and it's a high-end university, obviously in Switzerland. Think back, folks, to the early 2000s. We had the fastest internet at Purdue University. We had a T1 Ethernet line.
Okay.
We could load videos almost instantly and watch videos on a regular basis, which when I went home, I could barely load a picture. I had to wait for the lines to pixelate and everything to come through. I think dial-up was on the out. Cable was coming in.
Right.
But he had access to the internet.
Right, he would have been learning all kinds of stuff that you would not think that your average person coming up in North Korea would even have access to, even if you're the son of the head of the state. Well, it turns out, like, if you're growing up in a Western country, I mean, what do you think? He probably came back and was like, "Oh my gosh,
look at these backwoods fools."
Yeah, he was probably thinking,
"Hey, Dad, how come we don't have internet?"
At some point, being in charge of everything, he had to be thinking, man, I wonder if I can make this like it was when I was in Switzerland.
Now, I'm not trying. I don't think you are either. I don't think we're trying to. We're not trying to sugarcoat this by no means.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm just trying to get you to.
They're calling him a murderer. What do you say about that?
It's possible.
Well,
it's possible that he's got other. Okay, the deep state that we talk about here in America. When Kim took over, it was a surprise and a shock to the entire country. They thought his dad was going to live much, much longer, and he was only 23 years old. So you got to understand that. At 23.
I can't believe he was that young.
At 20.
I thought he was 26. 23? Oh, my gosh. Whatever it was. He was young. He was in his 20s.
Because Trump
He's only in his 30s right now.
Because Trump referenced his takeover and Donald Trump's takeover in their mid-20s.
Right.
And there's a similarity there. So, anyways, but the fact that he was then, okay, you're now installed. You're it. Go hit the buttons.
Yeah, his
do
dad
whatever.
died kind of unexpectedly.
Don't think for 1 second that the concentration camps that are there, that really are there, the gulags that are really there, that just doesn't stop.
Well, let me add to that.
There's people that are running things and will stop him from doing things that he shouldn't do, steer him to places he should steer.
Right.
I mean,
well, let me add to that. I'll totally shore up what you're saying. In that documentary, and you guys can all look this up on YouTube, they were grooming him. Once they decided it was going to be Kim Jong-un who was going to take over, because he had two brothers, and he's not even the oldest. No. So they were looking at the one, and they were like, no. And then they looked at another one. Well, the one got in trouble in Japan or something like that. He ended up doing something he wasn't allowed to do, got in trouble, and so they said, we can't have somebody with this background taking over. And so the other one they thought was a little bit light in the loafers. I'm not kidding.
Was he a half brother or?
They didn't say that. I remember. I just assumed 3 full-blood brothers, as far as I knew. I don't know, but they said that he was a little light in the loafers, and we can't have somebody like that running our country. So we're going to leave it on Kim Jong-un. So they started grooming him. Okay, and when the deep state, his deep state, the North Korean deep state, started grooming him and doing the things to get him ready for becoming leader, they believed that they were going to be doing this for 15 years.
Yeah, well, and don't think for 1 second. 15 years is a good time to take a 23-year-old, let's just say 25 round numbers, 25-year-old, groom him for 15 years. That'd take him all the way to 40.
Yeah.
So you're 40, you're a man, you're an adult, you probably have a wife and maybe a couple of kids now.
Obama was only 44, I think, when he took over as president.
Right.
So
it's no problem with that. We got time. We're going to take this in courses, year by year by year, and by the time he gets to be 40, full-blown propagandist, he'll have his mind right.
And then that's when they expected Kim Jong-un would probably, give or take, that's probably his life expectancy.
70, 80 years old.
Turns out he died in a year after they started grooming him, and the people that were in charge, the ones that actually do the work of running the state, who were taking orders from Kim Jong-il, believed that Kim Jong-un is not ready. And why would they? I mean, that sounds logical. They thought they had 15 years. They only had a year. That being said, some of the things that were going on under Kim Jong-il that we say, oh, he's a murderous person, it's a murderous regime, we're just continuing business as usual while this boy king, comes up and gets on-the-job training.
And don't think that can't happen. It happened here in America. It happened under Obama. Obama left the office, and business as usual kept going on.
Right. So really the deep state thing that you're seeing here in America with Trump, and the reason, it's not because Trump is youth and inexperience is the reason why it's happening here. It's because here's a guy who the first time in my lifetime is taking over as president with no political experience.
Zero. And the first one to ever come out of civilian lifestyle to do so.
Right. So he gets in there, and the deep state, he has to learn how that works. Whereas somebody who normally in our lives have become president would already have a lot of years of experience with this
G-Dub was groomed. G-Dub's dad definitely groomed.
Oh my gosh.
He came out of
the head of CIA.
CIA, came out of the CIA.
He was the deep state.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Bill Clinton, he couldn't run it, but he didn't care to run it.
Well,
I mean, he was the governor. He'd been in political life, so he knew how to play the game.
Yeah.
Hillary was running it.
Well, there's a couple things I noticed. Bill Clinton was very young.
Yeah.
Carter was very young.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe because he's so old now, but
Both
he's
massive.
still alive, and he was president back in the early mid-70s.
Right.
So then Barack Obama was young. And also George W. Bush was just the kid. He was just the son of a president. Yeah. You look at all those people and you realize that they were told that the deep state runs things, and if you want things to run smoothly, you just follow our lead.
You're a figurehead.
Yeah.
And literally Kim Jong-un is a figurehead.
Right.
I mean, there is no way at 23 he steps in on day one and says, all right. I'm calling the shots. Call this extension, get this person, he doesn't know the names, he doesn't know the departments probably, or the peoples, or the places.
Right.
Just like at my job, I'd ordered a package from Amazon, and Amazon said they delivered it in the mailbox. So I started asking somebody around the shop, and they're like, we ain't got no mailbox here.
What? That's not good.
There's a shipping department.
Okay.
So I went to them and said, we ain't got nothing. I called HR just on a whim. I said, do we have a mailbox? And she's like, no, we don't have a mailbox. But, there's a company that's in our company.
Okay.
Like a representative of a company, and they have their own office area.
Yeah.
They have a mailbox.
Okay.
I didn't even know there was a company in our company with a mailbox.
All right.
So I said, well, who do I talk to? She said, well, try this extension. And so I tried that, and I emailed her. She emailed me back. She said, oh, you want this lady.
Okay.
And so I got her, and she's like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think to check the mailbox because we don't get mail there.
Okay.
She said, hold on. She come back. Yeah, we got a mail. Yeah, this is your name Brian Smith? I said, yes. She said, oh, we got a package for you.
Oh, my gosh. Well, there you go.
And she said, you know how to get here? I'm like, no, I don't know. She said, just walk upstairs, and I'll come that way, and I'll meet you.
Wow.
I've been there almost a year, folks. I even asked my buddy, the millennial. He's worked there. This is his 12th year of working there. He didn't know there's a company inside our company. He didn't know.
12th year. Wow.
So now Kim Jong-un is taking over an entire...
He don't even know where the mailbox is.
He doesn't even know where the mailbox is,
Oh,
man.
my gosh, yeah.
Just on that level, think about that. I'm not even there a year, and people around me don't even know.
Right.
So it's at that level that we talk about. It's at the level of information you don't know. You don't know.
Right.
See, there's things that you know. There's things that you know you don't know. And then there's things that you don't know you don't even know.
And that's most of it.
Yeah, like ask Gary about science, and you'd be like, damn, I didn't know none of that. I didn't know. It's that light bulb that goes off, and you're like, holy smoke.
And as much as I know, there's 99.99999% of it I don't know, and neither does any other scientist. Believe it or not.
Yeah. So I got it. I'm just trying to get you to think about where Kim is coming from.
Right.
And why this is possible.
Yeah, and this is something that Trump probably would have figured out. A lot of people that I was talking to over the week came to realize, actually they kind of predicted this a couple months ago too, that Kim Jong-un might be looking for a father figure. And you could see,
I wouldn't doubt that for a minute.
You know what I was noticing? I don't know how many of you guys out there were noticing this, and I don't know if Brian noticed this, but I was watching the summit live very closely, and I was comparing the body language between the two of them to some of the big summits of the past, like your Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan, those kind of things. And I remember somebody made a video, maybe it was on YouTube or maybe it was a documentary, where they were showing how since Reagan would put his back on Gorbachev and extend his arm out to say, here, it's this way, it was like he was taking the lead and leading,
ushering Gorbachev in the right way.
He was taking the lead by telling him which way to go and you first. And there may have even been a little bit pushback by Gorbachev because he probably knew going in that he was going to have to try to win that battle. But when you watch the video from that, you can clearly see that Reagan totally won that battle of body language. So I'm watching this with Kim Jong-un, and I'm like, not only is Trump dominating the body language, he's doing this stuff. He's putting his hand on his back and showing this way. I almost feel like Donald Trump did that not subconsciously, but actually watched the video from the Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan and said, I need to do this stuff. I need to be the one to say, hey, let's go over this way. And he dominated everything. But not only that, but the whole time Kim Jong-un looked totally fine with being the subordinate.
He seemed very comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't seem like he was trying to dominate. He wanted to play the guy. He wanted to play the nephew. He was playing the nephew. He was fine with it.
Now he stuck his Trump. They were sitting next to each other, and Trump extended his hand to shake his hand.
Okay.
And so you pretend to be Kim, and as I shake your hand, I put my hand up. You shake your hand.
Yeah.
Yep. Shake my hand.
Did he do that?
Yeah. Trump had it, so it was almost as Kim's hand was bent to where it was like.
Did you see the
It was
picture?
a delicate. It was really strange.
I don't remember
handshake.
which head of state it was, but somebody grabbed Obama's hand and raised it up. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, way back in the day. Yeah, back in the day.
Grab my wrist.
Yeah,
and hold it up.
Yeah.
Well, no, not that high.
Sorry. Yeah.
Obama literally did the limp wrist.
The 100% limp wrist. It was really.
In fact, I'm not even that flexible. It's almost like he had to exert himself to get his wrist that limp.
Well, when you're tiny and delicate and dainty,
He's kind of tall, but he is delicate and dainty.
It just kind of happens. So, did you hear the story? The story about 2 men, 2 leaders, 1 destiny.
No.
Did you want to hear about that?
Sure.
Okay, so to set this up, folks, Donald Trump, somebody had put together a video.
Oh, you mean the one that was played at the summit?
Right. Somebody had put together a video.
Okay.
And 6 degrees of separation. And so somehow Trump got to looking at this video that was put together, and Trump said, hey, I think that might be a good idea. And even Scott says.
Oh, Scott Adams.
Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, he even made the comment, said that I don't think that this has ever been done. Ever.
Okay.
Been done. In a sales type situation. But if you're at a low level sales and you're pitching an idea to a company, this is exactly what Donald Trump is coming at this like he's buying a corporation or he's selling a corporation. Maybe that he's selling this country an ideology. I have an ideology and I'm selling it to you. And here's why you want it. Here's why you need it. Here's why your people need it. And so you put together a presentation.
Yeah, that is actually really common. Yeah, and you know the left. Oh, are you going to play it?
Yeah.
I'll say what I was going to say after it's over. The left try to make fun of it, which is really sad because this is really effective stuff. I mean, it is propaganda because it's putting thoughts into the head of the audience, which is one person. It's Kim Jong-un. That maybe wasn't there before he watched it. But I don't mean propaganda in a bad way. This is a message we wanted to convey to him. So I thought it was awesome. And you have it.
7 billion people inhabit planet Earth. Of those alive today, only a small number will leave a lasting impact. And only the very few will make decisions or take actions that renew their homeland and change the course of history. History may appear to repeat itself for generations. Cycles that never seem to end. There have been times of relative peace and times of great tension. While this cycle repeats, the light of prosperity and innovation has burned bright for most of the world. History is always evolving, and there comes a time when only a few are called upon to make a difference. But the question is, what difference will the few make? The past doesn't have to be the future. Out of the darkness can come the light, and the light of hope can burn bright. What if a people that share a common and rich heritage can find a common future? Their story is well known, but what will be their sequel? Wow. Destiny Pictures presents A Story of Opportunity.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out that was Kim Jong-un at the parallel right there at the DMZ, and he grabbed Moon's hand, and Moon led him over the 39th parallel? 38th parallel, and led him over into South Korea. Folks, this is historic by epic proportions.
A new story, a new beginning. One of peace, 2 men, 2 leaders, 1 destiny. A story about a special moment in time when a man is presented with one chance that may never be repeated? What will he choose? To show vision and leadership? Or not? There can only be two results. One of moving back. Or one of moving forward.
So the rockets reverse, they go back to the ground. All of North Korea lights up in the middle of the night.
A new world can begin today. One of friendship, respect, and goodwill. Be part of that world, where the doors of opportunity are ready to be opened. Investment from around the world, where you can have medical breakthroughs, an abundance of resources, innovative technology, and new discoveries. What if? Can history be changed? Will the world embrace this change? And when could this moment in history begin? It comes down to a choice. On this day, in this time, at this moment, the world will be watching, listening, anticipating, hoping. Will this leader choose to advance his country and be part of a new world? Be the hero of his people? Will he shake the hand of peace and enjoy prosperity like he has never seen? A great life or more isolation? Which path will be chosen? Featuring President Donald Trump and Chairman Kim Jong-un in a meeting to remake history, to shine in the sun. One moment, one choice. What if? The future remains to be written.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So, folks, if you haven't seen that, if you're listening to the show audio only, the visuals are stunningly awesome. Everything that was negative and bad was all black. Usually, most of all of it was black and white. It was old school, Stalinistic, backwoods. It's just bad, bad, bad. But the visuals of, the renewed faith that I have whenever I watch something like that in capitalism. When Barack Obama flew out of, in Air Force One, flew out of Cuba, and somebody on the ground in Cuba took a picture that went on the internet, went viral because it showed the stark contrast between communism and capitalism. Fast forward 30, 40, 50 years. It is just amazing. Look at Japan. Japan embraced capitalism after World War II. Look at Germany. Germany literally floats all of Europe with capitalism after World War II.
Right.
Don't tell me for 1 second that this dude doesn't want that.
Yeah, I'm sure he is very well educated and knows what it's going to take. The question is, does he still embrace communism? I would say no. He wouldn't have. I don't think he would have reached out and made this happen with Donald Trump. So that's the big thing. I think that the question is, it's really what you have to realize at home is that the reason we have this conflict is because of the Cold War, and the Cold War could be broken down into something very, very simple. It is free market capitalism versus socialism, aka communism, and that's it. So the reason there is a war in Korea, it was a proxy war between the United States and Russia or Soviet Union, and it just remained. And Soviet Union's gone, the Cold War's gone, and it remains. And I'm just hoping it remains in Korea. I'm just hoping that if this happens, it happens for a change in North Korea from communism to capitalism. That's really what needs to happen, or else this can't go down. You look at somebody like Obama, who's like, we need to have peace with North Korea. Well, he would go in there and say, we like what you're doing here with this communism thing. We're going to try to embrace that more, and then that way we could be more friendly because we'll both be communists. That's literally, I'm not joking.
Right.
I'm not trying to be funny. That is the difference between Democrats and Republicans, is that they would look at this as an opportunity to, which, by the way, is exactly why I would not feel good about this if it went down exactly like this under Obama, because I would be convinced that we're trying to steer in the direction of North Korea.
Right.
With their economy. I'm not saying that they'll do that United States would do gulags because Obama loves North Korea so much. It's just that I think he would go there and say, I know why you're so poor. It's because the United States of America has been oppressing you, has been preventing you from participating in the rest of the world, and so we are at fault for every problem that you have, and so we're going to make it right by dumping pallets of cash on you.
Yeah. How many pallets do you need this week?
Right. And that's kind of what they did with Iran. Iran's a little bit different story, although Trevor Loudon would say it's all the same thing.
Right.
Communism, Islam, and all that kind of stuff.
And we're not talking much about Iran this week, but the revolution, Jimmy Carter allowed to help install the Ayatollah Khomeini in 79. They were a Western-type culture. You had women that would roam the streets in jeans and high heels and T-shirts and whatever it be. Islam, Muslims took over the entire Iran. The Ayatollah Khomeini was installed as the dictator regime. I don't know how you save that one. I really don't know, in the sense that just compare and contrast the two. Kim Jong-un is a new young generation. The Ayatollah Khomeini is the old generation of Sharia law, and women don't speak unless spoken to. Your wife doesn't leave the house without another girlfriend or you. She's never seen talking to another man. I mean, just all this oppressive, freaky caliphate garbage. That is what runs Iran. Maybe their only saving grace is that the people are revolting. See, that's something different with North Korea. North Korea, they all support Kim.
Right, and that kind of makes you wonder, where does he go from here? Where does Kim Jong-un go from here? He has to present this idea that there's going to be a major change in his country. It's going to be good for his country. It's going to be good for his leadership. It's going to be good for every single man, woman, and child in his country. But this is the change we're going to make. And it involves the United States, and I'm sure that they've been propagandized into thinking that they're the great Satan and all this kind of stuff. So it really boils down to how he's going to present that to his people. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he makes this transition of having to inform his people, who, by the way, didn't even know until like the day of.
Monday morning, they woke up Monday morning, and state-run television said, yep, Kim Jong-un
has left the country.
He's not here. He's over in
Singapore.
Yeah. I would think of something else.
I didn't even think about it until you just said that. Yeah, Singapore.
He's over in Singapore, and everybody in the country is like, what? He's not even in the country?
That might have been enough to cause a little bit of a panic there. He's not in the building. Elvis has left the building.
Right. I mean, folks, these folks don't even know we landed on the moon. These folks are forced by law to have nothing on their wall but a picture of the leader dictator himself, which was Kim Jong-il.
Well, how many people would be left in North Korea that would even know anything other than what they've been living for their entire life? I mean, it'd be like Korean War veterans, World War II veterans, who we know are almost completely gone. In America, imagine living in from all intents and purposes, a third world country, second world country, I guess, if you want to get really technically correct. How many people even know what life outside of what North Korea has become, know what's even out there? It's like the Truman Show.
No, absolutely. It's a Truman Show. And all of a sudden, Kim Jong-un is in the boat, and he hits rips the time continuum open with the...
But in a way, Kim Jong-un is part of the production. He's part of the producers who create the Truman Show, because he knows.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he knows now. He knows now. But yeah, absolutely. So it's just a really strange situation that's going on right now, in the sense that nothing has happened like this before, and nothing has been set up like this before. I was telling you about the World War II veteran at my church. I had no idea. The guy's 93 years old.
Wow. Which
if
you're
made
World
him
War II vet, you're going to be up there.
It made him 17, and he got in 1944.
That just goes to show how few are left. It's kind of sad.
He was 17, and he got in 1944.
And now he's 93.
Yeah,
So
our grandfather's, the one that we share has been dead for what, 10?
Well, my grandpa on my mom's side died 1980.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when did Grandpa Smith die?
2000 and a couple years ago.
2010, 11?
No, 2007. I think.
7?
Yeah.
And he was in the Merchant Marines, and that was 11 years ago. He passed away 11 years ago.
But he wasn't super young during World War II. He had a little bit of age on him, maturity. Okay. Those people are gone. I've actually found it completely ridiculous that they were trying to they found a former Nazi a couple of years ago.
Who was in his 90s.
Well, the point was, is if you do the math, I mean, they were like, oh, a Nazi, a real one. Somebody
real life. He's alive.
He wore the uniform.
Yeah,
my! Oh, we got to put this guy on the electric chair right now.
Don't turn the juice off.
Right. Don't turn it off until the whole building's on fire.
Right.
Turns out, if you do the math, this guy like 17 or 18, he was like the lowest rank.
Well, it might even been lower than that. I mean, Hitler was recruiting these children in the young teens.
No. The boy, like 9, 10, 11-year-olds, they were taking them from the parents if they had certain attributes like blonde hair, blue eyes. They were like, oh, these people need to be in the Hitler Youth. So yeah, like 9, 10, 11 years old, they were taking them, and the families were like honored. They're like, oh, you mean he qualifies?
Yep, he qualifies.
Yes. Yeah, so they were excited. But, yeah, I mean, some kids, they just did a documentary a couple of weeks ago because the survivors of the Hitler Youth who are, they're getting to that age where they're dying now, they want their story to be told, and they want people to know, first of all, what happened, and that they were just kids. They didn't know nothing.
Right. So think about North Korea being on the lockdown for the last 50, 60, 70 years.
Right.
I mean,
they don't know.
Okay, so Kim Jong-un is completely a whole new world now, a whole new ball game. He's got nobody above him in the sense of father, grandfather watching over him. He does have a deep state that's deeper than anything that we ever had. So he's going to have to work with that. But you got to understand, he's wanting what the Western world had.
Clearly.
It's obviously. So it's something else that fake Jake was all upset and all angry about. I'll play the clip here in a second. Fake Jake all angry and upset because, or maybe it was Scarbro, one of the two propagandists, upset because there weren't, and this is a phony baloney, because there weren't years of negotiations to lead up to this meeting. This meeting was just a photo op.
Honestly,
just a photo op.
Based on the way that the summit went down, I think the fact that and I've actually reported this on this show, I think the conflict between North Korea, South Korea, and North Korea and America is phony baloney. And I think this summit kind of proved it. Yes. I get DMs from people on Twitter all the time that say, are we going to get nuked? Are we going to war with North Korea? What's going to happen? And I tell them, I'm like, look, I went to South Korea. I went to Seoul. I met a lot of South Koreans, and not recently, but we were still at war back then, and that was under Kim Jong-il. I mean, they can't really do anything.
Under Bill Clinton.
And we can't do anything either, because if we invade North Korea, we're talking mass casualties, because they will go straight kamikaze on us.
He is their dear. They worship him. He is their. He has 100% approval.
And I mean that literally. I don't mean kamikaze because we're talking about Asians. We're not saying. No. I mean literally. If they have nothing, if they're out of bullets, they're going to charge us for a suicide attack. Basically,
with a sword
or whatever, or knife, or their fist, or whatever. Was it hand-to-hand combat? Right. And China, if they're not cool with that, will send 2 billion people across the border,
and we ain't got enough bullets for that.
No. So the idea that we were going to go to war, I was just like, all right, forget it. That's not going to happen. Outside of Kim Jong-un actually nuking somebody, and it's a suicide mission. If he were to nuke somebody, he knows that it's over. His time on Earth is measured in the hours, let alone
maybe minutes.
So the idea that he's going to somehow gain something by nuking something is just not going to happen.
Hillary Clinton told us how much time it takes to launch nuclear warheads in the debate.
Yeah,
that was top classified. That's classified information, but she told the world.
She went ahead and said it because she doesn't even know or care.
Never mind.
She's like, I'm Secretary of State. I can say whatever I want.
I can do what I want.
Yeah, so anyway.
Okay, so here's the clip on CNN's running this with Fake Jake, the lead.
He is such a...
This is... He'll reference Donald Trump's impromptu conversation with Ducey.
Okay.
And he doesn't say Ducey and he doesn't say Fox News, but listen to how he references what Fox News is to Donald Trump and what Trump is doing with North Korea and all this other.
Now, is this some sort of a podcast or is this like...
This is real on TV.
Oh, my God.
This is cable. Right. This isn't... you're thinking of Oberman. Keith Olbermann
in his mom's basement. Yeah, because he can't afford a house anymore.
No.
He had to move in with mom. Oh,
set up the show. So this is Fake Jake. He does his little thing. Then he cuts to a guy that does put clips and montages together, and it's actually funny. I cut it off at the very end at the best part that kills with Donald Trump speaking, and it kills this entire the lead show. I can't even believe they aired it. Like, I don't know what they were trying to think of airing, so roll it.
Before the president's impromptu news conference, shall we say, this morning, where he told repeated falsehoods about any number of subjects, the president...
Repeated falsehoods about any number of subjects.
We don't even know. We just want to say that they were falsehoods.
Appeared on a channel he has behind closed doors, according to the Washington Post, compared with North Korean state-run television. And there on that channel, the president continued to compliment North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. And as CNN's Jeff Zeleny explains, the president even jokingly expressed a longing for a bit of the despot's power.
President Trump is closing his week just as he began it, showering Kim Jong-un with praise.
He's the head of a country, and I mean he's the strong head. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Only when asked today whether he really wished Americans would fall into line like North Koreans are forced to, the president insisted he wasn't serious.
I'm kidding. You don't understand.
But there is no mistaking the president's admiration for strongmen and dictators. He spent much of the week flattering Kim, almost never mentioning his heinous human rights record that includes starving and executing his own people. In an extraordinary exchange with reporters outside the White House today, the president made no apologies and said the endgame was worth it.
Excuse me, because...
Okay, they cut off her question, but her question to him was, how can you... Otto Warmbier. In the death of Otto Warmbier,
yeah.
How can you possibly? I mean, this is disrespect the fact that he died and blah blah blah. They cut the entire question out because it set up Donald Trump to say this, which was epic. So she says, "In the wake of Otto Warmbier, why would you do this with Kim Jong-un?"
Say something so nice about a murderous regime that killed Otto Warmbier. Let's hear.
I don't want to see a nuclear weapon destroy you and your family. I want to have a good relationship with North Korea.
That is all.
Did you get a chance?
I don't want your family to be nuked, Carrie.
Yeah.
I actually care. I know you're a flaming liberal Democrat. I know you're flaming. You're insane.
I am wearing a pink shirt. No, it's salmon.
It's salmon shirt, and
salmon.
I got a baby blue shirt on, and I know it's just out of control. I know you guys can't handle it, but you are a citizen of America, and because you're a citizen of America, I will protect you from getting nuked.
Don't make me protect you.
No.
So I don't know if you heard at 3 a.m, maybe? I think it was 3 a.m. Donald Trump gave a press conference in Singapore. It was a very long one, and he took a lot. He actually gave a real quick statement that wasn't very long, and he took like half hour or more worth of questions. And he was asked about the Otto Warmbier thing, And I am really excited with his response. He said that Otto Warmbier did not die in vain, and that what happened to him in North Korea is why we're standing here today. Yes. He actually said that. He said that the parents of Otto Warmbier are very pleased at everything that's going on, so that obviously he's checking up with them, and he said that he had become friends with Otto Warmbier's parents, and that he said, I believe that this is only been able to be possible because of Otto Warmbier, and here's why. And it kind of lends credence to my theory that Kim Jong-un and what his father's murderous regime was doing are two separate things. Trump believes, and he said this, that I don't think he said North Korea, but I think what he meant was Kim Jong-un was not very happy at what happened with Otto Warmbier.
Well, think about it. Kim finds out, you got an American in there? And he's in a coma?
What the hell?
What are we doing? And then he goes down to the prison cells and he sees all the rats and the animals and things laying around. And
he did actually release Otto Warmbier back to America. You know, he could have just kept him.
He also, he released Otto Warmbier, and then one of these really ridiculous, vicious anti-Trump media elites. You didn't get nothing in return. You gave it all away. I mean, it was just nothing, and Trump just went right back at him.
He got a lot of assurances.
I'll tell you what I got. I got this thing set up. I got the rest of the hostages have been released.
Yes,
all have been released.
Why do they ignore that?
And I've secured the remains of all our soldiers.
Which, by the way, as of I think yesterday or maybe this morning, had been arriving.
Folks,
they're arriving.
And we didn't know this, but there are families that have been petitioning the government, American government, to secure the remains of soldiers to be brought back to America.
Yeah, and I think it was like 32,000 American soldiers died. I don't know how many of them made their way back home. The remains made their way back home, and how many of them stayed there. But considering that we didn't, a lot of people died in North Korea from America, and they just buried them right there. And it had never been allowed for anybody that was buried right there that we couldn't, that we were unable to bring back, to come back at a later date. So this is the first time it's been able to happen. And like you said, they've been petitioning this for years and years, decades, many decades. And now they're coming home and being buried in the right place in America, on American soil, and it's just great.
And you got the despicable Joe Scarbro making light of the fact that this happened so quickly. This is just a photo op, and also, that pretty much it is what it is.
That it was going to be used as propaganda for North Korea, probably. Let's see. I haven't heard this, but I'm just predicting what he's going to say.
It's unbelievable. I can't even. I was watching this clip to get this part. This show is so sad. Mika Scarbro is so.
Yeah, right. It should be Scarbro, right?
They're married, aren't they?
Right.
Okay. Mika Scarbro is so zombified.
Yeah, she's not even human.
No,
I'm just saying.
No, and it's just so depressing to watch this show. But here they are, depressing people.
Well, first of all, with past this prologue, we can't believe anything the North Koreans tell us. You would hear that whether you talk to people who worked in the Obama administration or the Bush administration or the Clinton administration, or if you spoke with President Carter, who tried his best.
Okay, he just and I
he told on himself.
He went through all of them except Reagan.
Interesting.
He went through all of them except Reagan and tried to give all them Democrats and the Bush elites some kind of credit. They set Trump up in a good place.
We're saying they can't trust anything that comes out of North Korea, and that's been proven time and time again. And that may be true. First of all, it's a different leader. It's not Kim Jong-il. It's his son. And we talked about at the very beginning of this segment what the difference is between them, and that is key. Could you imagine being in a foreign country and looking at America from the outside and thinking that America is America, whether Obama's president or Trump's president? It's two different places depending on whether Obama's president or Trump's president. And now we're seeing, and trust me, I didn't think this a couple of weeks ago, but now, based on my observations, it looks like that we're dealing with a totally different North Korea now that Kim Jong-un is in charge instead of his father, Kim Jong-il.
Right.
To bring peace to this region. But every time the North Koreans have lied, it's hard to take anything out of this. This was one meeting. Even Dennis Rodman was able to fly over to Singapore and get in front of cameras and talk about peace in the world. And because there was really no prelude to this, because there were no year-long peace talks leading up to this, all we have is really, we're just actually seeing spring training here instead of the World Series. If you want to go back, let's go back and talk about what your father did 40 years ago this September. The Camp David peace accords were worked through, sweated over, toiled over, and because of that, it gave us lasting ground peace in the Middle East for 4 decades. We don't know what's going to happen here. Certainly, I know everybody in America and across the world hopes that this ends up being successful. But Richard Haas, right now, there really is no way of judging this because it is a glorified photo op that may actually start the framework of something significant. And as we say around here also, and as we've said, this is a heck of a lot better than what we expected to be happening on the Korean Peninsula
question in here?
6 months ago, which was war.
Is there a question in here somewhere?
No, there's no questions.
Oh my
Only
gosh!
answers.
It's like you bring on an expert that you're gonna guest that you're going to ask questions of, and he gives a 2-minute monologue.
And the show is all about him.
And the thing is that he made it sound like he was prepping that question, or I don't even think there was a question. He was basically prepping his guest to say what he wants him to say, pretty much telling him everything just so that the guest says, you know what, Joe, you're 100% right on that. Yep, everything you said. Ditto. I mean, It's pretty much what he was hoping to get out of that. That's
I don't have the Stephanopoulos, the George Stephanopoulos interview or the response, but he had given Trump a question. Probably had something to do with Iran and
not George.
George Stephanopoulos. This is a whole different interview. Gave Trump a question and was basically just kind of flippantly throwing this out there about, well, you didn't really get much. And Trump responded back to him and said, at least we're not paying North Korea $150 billion like the Iran deal. I don't think a deal could be softer. And Stephanopoulos from ABC didn't like that.
Oh.
But that's fine. Why not? Throw that out there. We know the Iran deal, $150 billion, is bad, went bad, never happened, was awful. And it was called a deal, not a treaty, because then Congress couldn't vote on it or put it to test or deny it or shoot it down. It was all a deal, all in executive order, and that's all it was. It's just phony. So they're trying to make this sour grapes, and the more that they do, the better this looks.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know how one-sided they are. They're very biased. They're going to do fake news, and they're going to lie and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, they can't get away with this. It's too good a news.
It's so good.
They're trying, but why can't they just...
it's so good. Guess who broke ranks with the DNC? Who broke ranks with Nancy Pelosi?
I have no idea.
Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard break with Pelosi on Trump-Kim summit. Important first steps towards peace. In a revolt, this by Breitbart News, in a revolt against the Democrat Party establishment, anti-war leftists and socialist communists, Bernie Sanders, and yeah, they didn't put that in. I just wanted you to know that he's not only
this is real news. You're listening to real news.
He's not just anti-war. They're throwing that out there. He's anti-war. He's also socialist communist.
Right.
And Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat, Hawaii. I forgot she hates Trump. The lady out of Hawaii, but they're praising President Trump's summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Important first steps towards peace.
Interesting. Now, idiotic communists are probably going to praise this, not just for the peace, but because I believe that she thinks, and I'm just going, this is a very general statement here about your average leftist.
Just your average.
Yeah, your average leftist.
Is
going to believe that becoming friends with a communist regime is good because that makes us friends with a communist regime, which is what they want.
Right, and then everybody can see how good communism is.
Yeah, well, that way, by osmosis, we end up becoming more communists.
That's it.
That they're going to influence us. That they're going to influence us.
It's just going to bleed right through the fabric, and all of a sudden we'll be drinking red Kool-Aid, just like everybody else, drinking the Leninade. Hey, if this first time you've been on the show, you probably haven't seen our Leninade.
Right.
It's join the party, get hammered and sickled. Little bit of juice there. It's not really just a tip. You can see just the tip on the camera.
So it is alcoholic. That's why the whole hammered and sickled.
I don't know.
How do you get hammered and sickled when it's not alcoholic?
A taste worth standing in line for.
It's ration. It's ration.
It has to be.
This is our daily ration for the day.
Oh my goodness.
A party in every bottle. Wow.
That was from a lifelong listener, a good friend of mine. He was at a store called Jungle Gyms, and Jungle Gyms has everything. He said he saw that and bought it. Said, man, you got to have this on your show. And we have had it here on the desk ever since. So when you see the show and the top of the orange cap, that's to remind you.
Well, it says, Misha, chill down this bottle and chill out. Drink, comrade, drink. It's this or the gulag.
Oh, no.
It does say that. It also says, beware the repressed Communist Party animal who is really a proletarian in denial masquerading as a bourgeoisie Cold War mongerer.
Wow.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's a whole mouthful. Definitely.
So anyway, let me get it facing up. Yeah.
So you got the yellow star and red rail. Should be a little bit more red, but it might be fading because it's been there for so long. Juxtapose, you've got the giant American flag in the background.
Right.
Patriotic as we are. And just to kind of wrap this up, do you have any other ideas? I've got one last little special thing to wrap this up.
About the Kim Jong-un thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think we've exhausted the main things you need to know about.
I think we hammered and sickled that one.
Oh, boy.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay, did anybody catch the Dennis Rodman thing?
Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, did anybody see?
I saw it, and I wasn't surprised because he did kind of get the ball rolling by showing that a human being outside of North Korea can actually go there and come back alive.
Right, and so is that Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah, Cuomo.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cuomo
Mm-hmm.
on CNN. I played the first. I cut out everything that was blah, but I kept the first few seconds in where he asks Dennis Rodman a question about what he's wearing, and then he averts to something else. So I cut all that out, and then it jumps right back to Dennis Rodman speaking about him talking to Obama, and then it kind of rolls from there. So you check this out. This is funny stuff.
How you doing, guys?
It's good. Do you have what does your hat say?
What's my hat say?
Oh, good. Now I can see it.
Let's
so you
make
have
America great again.
All right.
You got it right there? You got it?
I got it. Thank you.
I would like to ask you three things. If you go back to tell the President of the United States these three things.
This is when he's talking to Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un tells Dennis Rodman, say these three things to your president.
Okay.
And I would be willing to talk to him. And this is a true story, and I got my people here that was there that heard the conversation. He said things like, if they can move the ships back.
Ships. He said ships. If he can move the ships back.
Yeah. South Korea, I would do what I have to do to listen. If you can move certain things or do certain things, I will listen. My ears will be open. And I tried to do that to Obama. And Obama didn't even give me the time of day. I asked him, I said, I have something to say from North Korea. He just brushed me off.
That's sad.
But that didn't deter me. I still kept going back. I kept going back. I showed my loyalty and my trustworthy to this country. And I said to everybody, I said, the door will open.
I remember you saying it. I remember you saying it. Let me ask you something. Does Kim understand English, Dennis?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. When I said those things, when I said those damn things, when I went back home, I got so many death threats. I got so many death threats when I was sitting there protecting everything. And I believed in North Korea. And when I went home, I couldn't even go home. I couldn't even go home. I had to hide out for 30 days. I couldn't even go home. But I kept my head up high, brother. I knew things were going to change. I knew it. I was the only one. I never had no one to hear me. I didn't know one had to see me. But I took those bullets. I took all that. I took everything. Everyone came at me, and I'm still standing. And today is a great day for everybody. Singapore, Tokyo, China, everything. It's a great day.
It is a great day. This is a historic day.
I'm so happy.
Visibly emotional and tearful, but I think those are tears of joy.
Right, it's tears of joy now. You know, that's the first time I really listened carefully. I mean, I saw that video before, but, you know, he's kind of crying because he claims he was getting a lot of death threats from going to Korea in the past, years ago.
Well, you know, that's what Democrats do.
You know, I wouldn't put it past.
I mean, it was a Democrat that shot at the senators trying to practice baseball.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and make it sound like no Republicans gave him death threats for visiting North Korea back when it was assumed that it was just a communist regime.
I'll say it for you.
Well, I mean, we don't know one way or another, but do you really think that no Republicans gave him death threats for going to go see Kim Jong-un?
They got too many other things to do.
All right. Well, yeah, it was probably some crazy people.
Out of work.
Yeah, people that have nothing else to do. But, all right. Anyway, my point is that I think he's the first one to realize that things are different because it's Kim Jong-un. Dennis, this is something that nobody has really said or figured out, but this illustrates it all right here. Does anybody listening think that Kim Jong-il would have invited Dennis Rodman to come hang out with him?
He would invite him over so that he could he'd kill him.
Probably kill him. He'd probably be like, yes, we have an American, and then kill him.
Right. When it first happened, I was nervous. I said, man, he ain't coming back alive.
I know. I was worried, too.
And then when he came back, it was no big deal. I think he went twice.
But it never dawned on me until now
absolutely
that the reason he was over there was because of Kim Jong-un and that he would never. I honestly thought, and I learned from the interview differently, I always thought that Dennis Rodman went out of his way to go over there and talk to North Korea as some sort of a publicity stunt. I just recently, from another part of that interview, learned that Kim Jong-un invited him. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he didn't know anything about him. He didn't know anything about North Korea. And it turns out that he learned it when he went. I feel like I was misled by the media at the time, which was telling us that, oh, look at Dennis Rodman. He's trying to do a publicity stunt. No, he was invited because Kim Jong-un is a huge NBA fan because of his time in Switzerland.
There you go, folks.
You got to really wrap your head around all the moving parts. And once you do, you start to see the picture. It's kind of like that those crazy posters they had back in the 90s where you have to stare at it for a long time and then it 3D image emerges.
Right.
That's really what it boils down to. So.
All right, so real quick, something that's really huge this week. The IGReport came out, and it is what it is. Horowitz.
500-plus pages.
Yeah, and it's just, once people started to digest it and people started to get into it, really good, get into it, then a lot of things were learned. Right off the bat, I know Mark Levin took to Hannity's show and talked about it. And I kind of felt that Levin did a little bit of injustice to it in the sense.
Really? That's kind of surprising.
In the sense that he went off about this as this was letting everybody off the hook. But once you really get into it and digest it all, this thing is absolutely damning to the entire FBI, news reporters that were colluding with them, taking baseball tickets and dinner dates and all kinds of money, gifts and presents and stuff from the media. And then the Democrat Party, and it's all completely come to light. We've known this for years, but it's all coming to light. I know Mark Levin I think he wanted something a little bit different out of it than this, but
I think a lot of people did. But
we'll do the Mark Levin real quick, and then right after that, thefederalist.com. If you don't frequent that website, you absolutely should. Federalist.com. 11 things to know about the IG report, which actually exposes and opens up the details about what really is in it and how damning it is. But first off, Mark Levin talks about Trump anti-bias and then explains why Comey actually covered for Hillary Clinton, which is interesting, but nonetheless. So this is where he first starts out on Hannity's show.
I'll tell you what I see as I went through this major report here. I see several things. Number one, out of all the texts, all the documents, all the emails that have been reviewed, you know what's interesting, Sean? There's not a single pro-Trump text. There's not a single anti-Hillary text. There's not a single pro-Trump senior FBI official. There's not a single anti-Hillary FBI official. This was a cabal. And these people had as their purpose to interfere with a presidential election. They interfered with this presidential election worse than the Russians could have ever dreamed of. And I am no fan of Vladimir Putin and the Russians, let me tell you that. James Comey's FBI, there was collusion. The media in this report, appalling, giving gifts and tickets to sporting events and golf outings in exchange apparently for leaks. You have a culture of leaks at the FBI. The buck stops with Comey. This is Comey. Comey, disgraced. McCabe, criminal referrals. Have you ever heard of an FBI like this? You have obstruction. Jim Comey spent months trying to make sure that Hillary Clinton was protected. You know why? Because if they had impaneled a federal grand jury and played by the book, she would have been indicted. And the Democrat Party would have had to have another convention and find another candidate. They couldn't allow that. They had to defeat Trump.
Think about that for a minute, Kerry. Think about that for just a split second. You're the Democrat Party. Say you're Donna Brazier. Just for say. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe a white version of her.
Okay.
But say, I mean, you know, and it's coming down to the last few months or whatnot. And even Donna said when she took over, she was the fix-it person. When she took over, she was a gasp at the chaos and the insanity that was the Democrat Party. But okay, so that aside, James Comey comes out and he's going to give his report on you. And you know what you've been doing. You know what you've done. You know what you've done.
I know what I did. I know what I did.
And he's coming out with this report. What does he do? And what does Clinton do?
I'm assuming you got to lie about it.
I mean, it is the opposition. It is the party that is running against Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's only two parties. There's only one winner. And you can't win if you ain't even in the game. So say Hillary is kicked out because she can't run because a grand jury's been put together for her.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you do? Your party is in complete chaos. Who do you find? I mean, maybe Uncle Joe would step up, but
that
that's
was
not
actually
enough.
A thought that if something does come down on Hillary, what would they do? It would obviously be a crisis because it's like, you know, it would have illegitimized Trump's presidency because people would have thought that the only reason he won is because he pretty much was unopposed.
Oh, now that you say that, yeah.
You know, so that obviously is a problem. But that being said, they were in CYA mode.
Absolutely. Folks, and something I talked about on Friday, I've been hearing a lot of people saying this, where's the justice? No, especially after this report came out. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. We got no justice. These criminals. Hillary Clinton's walking around free as a jaybird, blah, blah, blah. And we got our good buddy Sam in our text message meetup group that if you would like to be a part of, you can be there, patreon.com/SmithRadio. But Sam, good buddy of ours, been with the show since we were just doing audio way back years ago. Mm-hmm. And he made the comment in the group that, hey, she's got to live with this the rest of her God-given life. She will be tormented by this forever and ever and ever, knowing that she literally got caught, that she, all these bad things have happened to her. It's all out in the open. It's all out in light. I got a lot of people telling me, Brian, that ain't justice, bro. I need to see her in an orange jumpsuit.
I agree with them.
On the lockdown?
I agree with them.
Okay. I got your answer, man. There has been justice.
Really? Lay it on me because I like to hear it.
Justice has been served, and every one of y'all who are feeling like the saltiness tinge in your mouth and you're angry, wrap your mind around the fact that our justice has already been served. Donald Trump won. Donald Trump is, you think about it long and hard.
Hold on.
And work on wrapping your mind around it.
I'm not wrapping
Donald
my mind around it.
Trump
I'm having trouble with this.
Is our justice. If he wasn't there, if he wasn't elected and she got it, there would have been no justice. Well, we've got justice.
I mean, they would have been in charge, right? That would have been an even graver injustice, a bigger injustice. But the fact that not only did they actually profited from their wrongdoing, but you can't.
And it would have continued. It would have continued.
It would have probably gotten
never,
worse.
Yeah,
they would have realized that, this is how we win elections. And in fact, some argue that maybe this has been going on for longer than we think. Like when it comes to voter fraud, if we ever find a smoking gun on voter fraud, which there's been some really problematic reports that kind of make it look like maybe it actually did happen. Of course, we got Project Veritas that said that there was a conspiracy to definitely attempt it on a national level.
And we reported on how it could easily be done with no problems whatsoever.
Right. And that being said, once we have the smoking gun that it actually did happen, from that point on, we're going to wonder, how long has this been going on? Has this been going on for what? The last 20 elections? Just this past election? Has this been going on from the beginning of our country? I mean, talk about sending us into a constitutional crisis. That being said, if all this has been going on with the Democrat Party, is this just a new phenomenon? I'm hoping and kind of guessing based on the fact that, well, the Watergate scandal that ended up having Nixon resign prematurely kind of makes me feel like no way were they doing stuff like what they're doing today back then, because if the Watergate scandal caused a near impeachment, a resignation because impeachment was definitely like guaranteed imminent, then you could not even dream of trying the stuff that they're doing today. So the problem I have, though, is that the wrongdoing happened. You can't just say, well, look, Brian, I know you tried to rob the bank, but by attempting to rob the bank, you ended up giving that bank a huge windfall and you didn't get a dime. And so justice has been served. I don't agree with that. I think you should.
I'm not talking about a bank.
Tried.
I'm not talking about a bank.
Prison.
I'm talking about Donald Trump.
Right.
I'm talking about, we live in a world that is full of sin. Mm-hmm. Let's break it down to a Christian level. Let's get Christian on you real quick, all right? Let's break it down. We live in a world where there will always be liars, cheaters, thieves, violent crimes and killings and robbing, volcanoes exploding and killing people and all kinds of very bad, violent things. That's the world that we live in. There are people that get away with all kinds of stuff, bad things that should be prosecuted for it every day, all day, every minute, every second, all the time. There's people who have abortions, killing and murdering babies all day, all night, all the time. Those people will never see justice, air quotes, in the sense that you want justice or in the sense that I want justice. They will never see it in God's eyes. In the Bible, He's the one that has the final justice. He's the one that has the final say. That will happen under him. And there's things that you completely out of your control. But I found justice in Trump's winning this election. If he hadn't won, there would be no justice there would have been nothing. We would have done nothing about none of this. And it would have continued, and it would continued on. Were there more killings of people like Seth Rich and whistleblowers? Whether it be more robbing and stealing from the taxpayers? Whether it be overthrowing Haiti and taking over that country?
So the deterrence is what? That because they tried this and lost, that they shouldn't try this again because they were going to lose anyway?
No, the deterrence is that now your reputation is so stained, and I've got reports already, and I wasn't going to this could actually fit into what we're talking about, is that there are reports now inside people in the Democrat Party are talking about Democrats want Obama back because there's no one else. There's no effing else. No one else. One frustrated Democrat strategist said to The Hill, Bill Clinton is toxic.
Right.
Carter's too old, and there's no one else around for miles. Another staunch supporter admitted he's been way too quiet, saying that
Obama.
Obama's been way too quiet, saying that there are a lot of people who think he's played too little of a role or almost no role in endorsing or fundraising, and he's done jack SH in getting people to donate to the party.
I think he's just hoping that he doesn't get indicted.
Maybe, but there are the majority, it's well over majority of Americans know for a fact the Mueller investigation is a fraud and a scam. They know for a fact, it's a document everybody knows. Hillary Clinton is a fraud, and it's just bad.
And the departments that were all employed to try to thwart a presidency of the opposition party was all masterminded by somebody, and the president at the time was Obama. So it kind of makes you wonder what kind of involvement he had in it. I mean, he was outgoing anyway, so I imagine he wouldn't have cared much. Like, what do I get out of this?
Kind of like a lame duck president. Just whatever.
It's more like, okay, if I help you guys, if I let you guys take all my agencies to win the presidency for the Democrat Party on my way out, do I care or not? I'm done, whatever. But you're right. There is a justice when it comes to their reputation. This can't look good for Obama's legacy.
Obama's legacy is currently being erased. It's like Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox.
Oh, he's starting to fade away.
He's fading away, man.
Oh, he's starting to disappear.
He's getting weaker. The guitar's playing slower. It's all over with, man.
Okay. I mean, I just there's something that that's not going to sit well with people when you say, well, justice is going to happen one day, even if it doesn't happen in this lifetime, especially when the system is supposed to be designed so that we can have justice for these very things.
Sure, but we live in such an imperfect world. We live in a world where people are getting away with bank robberies every day, where people are getting away with murder and rape and all kinds of things. Every day people are getting away with that. Drunk driving every day. I mean, it's just
right. And
all the time.
These are people that didn't get caught or somehow like a bank robber that gets away with it. They actually people will be shocked to find out that these people actually get away.
Yeah,
we have the suspects and the evidence.
True.
That's why it's like
there's there's a problem though. At one point in time, the FBI was talking to the Clinton lawyers.
Okay,
and the FBI said, "Hey, we need that stuff," and the Clinton lawyers said, "Well, I know you need it, but here's what it's going to take to get it. Here's how much money it's going to cost the taxpayers to get it. Here's how long it's going to be. And in the end, I'm just saying, we don't really have anything." And this is all in the IG report. And the FBI said to the IGs, in the end, it was just better off that we just didn't go down that road.
That's scary. That's the kind of power that the Clintons had.
Right. Yet the FBI can raid Donald Trump's personal lawyer's office and take everything they want, take the stuff out of his hotel room, take the stuff everywhere they want out of his house, and they can throw.
And that's another injustice.
Oh boy, they throw old boy in jail.
Yeah, somebody's rotting away in jail right now. Has lost his rights to
Paul Manafort.
Yeah, who's lost his rights to visitation, so he can no longer see his family. He's separated completely. He was like on house arrest.
Right,
so
and he had bail. He had lots of bail, big money bail.
Revoked bail, revoked visitation rights. So he's pretty much in full-blown prison while he awaits trial.
Well, but prison in the sense of he's probably in
jail.
He's in a cell by himself, solitary confinement.
Full-blown jail, like that you would be in if you broke a major crime and you were looking at multiple felonies where you would be separated from your family and you're going to sit there and rot in jail until your day in court comes.
And you don't have you don't have contact with anybody, anything except for the guard that brings you your food. You don't get out to walk around. It's just probably a 10 by 10 room, and that's it, with a stainless steel potty out in the open. Ain't no good. I'm just saying. This is a wealthy man. Not only that, but it's something that came up this week. Paul Manafort, what they're saying that they throw him in prison and what he's being tried for. Did you know John Podesta was his business partner?
Yeah. I just learned that from Jack Posobiec this week.
Yeah, and John Podesta walking free as a jaybird.
Yeah.
Or gaybird, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Jack Posobiec tweeted out about that, talking about how he finds it odd.
Very strange. But Paul Manafort, did you know the judge, Amy Berman Jackson, who put Paul Manafort in jail this week, previously cleared someone else? This judge was the same judge that cleared Hillary Rodham Clinton of responsibility for the deaths of 4 American servicemen in Benghazi, Libya in 2012. Appointed by Barack Hussein Obama and a Bill Clinton big donor, the judge threw Paul Manafort in jail. Manafort was put in jail for allegedly engaging in witness tampering, but most people see the jailing as a fraud to divert public attention away from the IG report that slammed James Comey and bolstered President Trump's argument against the corrupt deep state. Thank you, Jack Murphy, at Real Jack.
All right.
So this judge is a Bill Clinton donor, cleared Hillary of the Benghazi deaths of 4 servicemen, and was appointed by Barack Hussein good time rock and roll Obama.
You know, judges can be impeached. I think that this would be a good candidate for impeachment, I would think. Removal. I mean, we're talking about injustice here. We're talking about bias.
How do you not recuse yourself? That would be recusable grounds. Jeff Sessions, are you listening? This is what you recuse yourself for, man. Anyways, folks, okay. So back to Mark Levin. We're talking about the IG report that just came out, folks. And Mark Levin did a thing with on Sean Hannity's Scope on his show. And this video clip is Mark Levin talking about Comey insubordinate and what the IG recommendations are and what they mean. And this really grinds his gears. So check this one out real quick.
Comey, insubordinate, usurping the powers of the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, the Associate Attorney General. Insubordinate. You have collusion, obstruction, insubordination. It is absolutely unbelievable. I want to get back to the media. The media, which sings like a bunch of blackbirds on a telephone pole. They move in one direction, they all move in the other direction. Now we know why. The media was working, much of the media, with the FBI. But the Inspector General doesn't tell us for some reason which media, which reporters, which FBI agents. We want to know, and they don't tell us. Now, there's some recommendations that they have in this report. It was hilarious. Chuck Schumer runs to the Senate floor to immediately defend Comey, except as it comes to Hillary Clinton, and starts talking about the report. Chuck Schumer hadn't time to read this report. Neither did any of the Democrats running to the media, and they all sound the same because they all have the same talking points.
Right.
Here's his recommendations, the IG. We recommend that the department and the FBI consider developing guidance that identifies the risks associated with and alternatives for permitting a witness to attend a voluntary interview of another witness. That's already Department of Justice policy. What that means is that Comey allowed the Clinton witnesses to collude. We recommend the department consider making explicit that except in situations where the law requires or permits disclosure, an investigating agency cannot publicly announce its recommended charging decision prior to consulting the Attorney General.
Okay, what that means is that before James Comey came out and gave his what he said, remember that long speech where he said, Hillary was not negligible, but not homicidal. It just went, but on and on and on. Remember,
she did all these things wrong, but no prosecutor would bring charges.
Okay, now he said the IG report says that we recommend that you change that policy and that James Comey must, or whoever the head is, must consult X, Y, and Z, must clear heads of state. I mean, has to go through all the chain of command before he can actually put this out to the public. Okay? Do you get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know something?
That's already Department of Justice policy. We recommend that the department and the FBI consider adopting a policy addressing the appropriateness of department employees discussing the conduct of uncharged individuals in public statements.
Okay, so what that means right there, that's him saying that James Comey, before he can discuss what Hillary did and didn't do, because you remember he laid it all out of what happened, what went down, what he did, and we listened to that and we said,
yeah, I remember real time.
The guillotine's coming down.
I thought she was going to be indicted, and this was going to be a roller coaster.
Okay, so Mark Levin just said that the IG report says that James Comey, that we suggest you make a new rule, implement a new rule, that before James Comey can discuss the details of the Hillary Clinton in a public sphere, you go through all the chains of commands and everything else, right? You know what he says?
That's already Department of Justice policy. We recommend that the department consider providing guidance to agents and prosecutors concerning the taking of overt investigative steps, indictments, public announcements, or other actions that could impact an election.
Okay, now what he means right there is that IG says we want new policy in the FBI. You're not allowed to take bribes, not allowed to take, business trips and vacations, and
right.
You're not allowed to do any of that.
What if somebody just says, "Hey, why don't you go on this trip? I got an extra one. It's just laying around, and if you don't use it, you lose it. And so nobody else wants to go. Why don't you go ahead and take it?" But
you're a reporter, though. I probably shouldn't. I mean,
it's just.
I don't know if there's a rule. I don't know if there's a rule about. So we wouldn't be allowed to talk to each other like this at any distance or length. Wouldn't be allowed to talk to each other. Wouldn't be allowed to accept gifts. Nothing like that whatsoever. Okay.
Well, Brian, but you're giving me information already. I'm just repaying you.
Okay,
you're leaking all kinds of stuff to me. I got to do something.
Right. I understand your generosity, and you understand my generosity. What the IG report says is that there should be implemented new rules that cannot happen anymore.
Oh no! You mean I won't be able to lavish gifts and prizes on you in order to get leaks from you anymore?
That's correct. So the IG said do that, and Mark Levin says.
That's already Department of Justice policy. I'll tell you what. I watched this FBI Director Wray have his press conference and learned exactly nothing. And one of the things he did that I found very troubling to me is he said, look, one of the things we're going to do to fix this, and we're already at it, we're going to have very significant training of all of our agents, new agents, senior agents, all thousands of agents, that they need to be unbiased in their investigations. And I thought to myself, they are unbiased in their investigations. The vast majority of the FBI is unbiased in investigations. Why are you trashing your own agency? The problem isn't Joe FBI agent or Sally FBI agent. The problem is Jim Comey. The problem is McCabe. The problem is Strzok. The problem is Page. The problem is that whole crowd. And I found it incredibly outrageous that the new FBI director, once he said, I'm defending the FBI, it's a great institution, and I happen to know it is. But then on the other hand, everybody needs to be trained.
You know, I'm not sure if he was the first one to say this, but he's the first one I've heard say this. I heard this the very day that this came out. And you're absolutely right. And I mean, even Trump says it. Trump says that the rank and file men and women who do their job day in and day out, that's incredible. That's awesome. But you've got a handful. You got about a dozen Peter Strzok's and Lisa Pages. There's more now. There's more than just Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and that are colluding. One of the Democrats said to I'm not sure who it was, but one of the Democrats were shouting out, what Peter Strzok, don't he's just kind of a lackey, nobody, kind of and he got fired back. I said, whoa. Peter Strzok was involved at the highest levels.
Right, the very highest.
With Hillary Clinton, and then requested to be a part of the Russian collusion thing because he had Russian ties. And he could be a part of that.
Well, he might have to cover his own butt, too.
True that.
He needed to be involved in order to protect himself. I'm sure that's a big part of what this entire special counsel, this entire Russian collusion hoax perpetrated by the mainstream media onto us is not just, this is a way we can embarrass the Republicans and embarrass Trump and to hurt his poll ratings and to maybe even get him removed and all that. Yeah, sure, that we all know that that's kind of going on, but behind the scenes, this is a part of a requirement by the deep state and the Democrat Party and the mainstream media to cover up what they've been doing.
Yes, and when Mark Levin says that he knows that the FBI is a good organization, here's 2 points. Here's two things. One, how did James Comey, how did Peter Strzok, how did Lisa, how did all these bad people go through the FBI, starting from beginning to where their final position was? How did they get to go through it, being the type of individual that they are, if this is not a cultural systemic problem in the FBI?
Now, why would you think that their rise is evidence of a cultural systemic problem?
Because you've got multiple players coming on board at multiple different times, rising through the ranks that are willing and able to be corrupted. Maybe they came in with eyes wide open, say, hey, I'm here, I'm on the FBI, I got my little badge, I'm good to go. And then one day they got corrupted, or the fact that they were originally corrupted maybe shouldn't have ever been in the FBI.
Well, the way you were describing that kind of reminded me, I felt like you were going in the direction of there's a certain level rank in officers in the military where in order to go any higher, it starts to get highly political.
Well, not only that, but in the Air Force, you must submit a picture of yourself because they want someone that looks the part.
Wow.
You got to look the part.
Wow, that's amazing.
If you're going from colonel, full bird colonel, general, going up to
this is in the 60s,
this is it's all politics.
All the leaders in the military in the 60s had a butt chin.
And they were all badass.
Yeah,
they were tough, hard dudes. Yeah, look at all. Pull it up on the Google. Even in the Air Force, pull it up on the Google. All the past, what was it? The highest rank in the military. Besides just underneath General of the Air Force General. So he's like the guy that's above, the Air Force. And he's a top position. When you look at the row of those guys going back all the way back to 1949, I mean, they're all chiseled. You
gotta look the part.
I mean, they all look the part.
Okay, so you can't look like Brian Stelter.
Hell no.
You look like Brian Stelter, and you better use somebody else's picture.
Or you're enlisted.
Well, I'm just...
Whoops.
I mean, you could get up to maybe a major. You get up to major, I think you're going to plateau if you're looking like Brian Stelter. especially when you get interviewed and you're like, yes, sir, I would like to go higher in rank. That's not going to work.
The Navy has a few good men.
Oh, wow. Apologies to everybody in the Navy, but...
I'm Air Force. I can say those kind of things.
Now, see, we always made fun of the Navy as if we weren't a part of the Navy.
It's wrong.
We do not consider ourselves a part of the Navy. We have to be reminded. And then we're like...
And we do. Us Air Force members do remind y'all... Because especially when you get out of line. When some of those guys get a little out of line, which is not hard to do. I have a couple of beers. They get a little out of line.
Can you believe the Marine Corps is a part of the Navy? It just baffles the mind.
And you know somebody else who is salty, pretty salty dog. The Army.
What about them?
We were the Army Air Corps.
That's right. But see, you guys officially
1949.
Yeah, you guys officially separated. But the Marines are considered still part of the Navy. So,
anyways, don't get too far off subject. Yeah. So check this out. Here's what he's talking about when he's saying that I'm saying that there's a cultural issue in the FBI that draws out individuals that are willing and able to do things they shouldn't be doing. Whether they're willing and able to spy on, or maybe they get overly confident and they're picked out by their superiors who, whatever. I'm just saying there's a cultural issue that needs to be addressed.
Can I throw something out there? I heard a caller on one of the talk radio this week where I don't remember why they brought it up, but they did say this, and I was like, that's right. That the FBI, CIA, these shadowy agencies tend to attract people who like to have that kind of power over people.
Well, and I asked you one day, I said, why does it seem like a Marine fits the jarhead?
Why are they crazy? No, seriously. When I joined the Marines myself, one of my goals going into boot camp, I was like 18 years old, total young whippersnapper, and I said, okay, one of my goals is to not get brainwashed into turning into some crazy-ass killer.
I want to kill
psycho. I'm gonna go out of my way to avoid them doing that to me. So I get in there.
You turned into a killer.
No. I started looking around and everybody's like, everybody around here is crazy. And that's when I realized that the reason the Marine Corps seems like they're training everybody to be crazy killers is because that's what attracts.
Right.
It attracts the wild people. I'm not saying that they're killers or anything like that, but they're wild. They're kind of like, they're the kind of people that would jump out of a trench and run towards machine gun fire. Part of that is training, but only part of it.
Right.
The other part of it is that the kind of person that agrees to be crazy enough to sign their dotted line to become a Marine ends up being the kind of guy that's like, wait, I have to jump out of a trench and run towards machine gun fire? Where do I sign up? Part of it is that.
Because whenever we had Tent City on our air base, and that tent city was hundreds and hundreds of tents where the Marines stayed in tents.
Uh-huh.
And their per diem, which is you get extra money for not being on your base, being at another base.
Yeah.
Their per diem was like $5 a day because they were living in a tent. They didn't need no money.
Okay.
When the Air Force came to our base, they put them up in hotels, and their per diem was like $95 to $100 a day.
Wow.
Well, because they had to have rental cars and hotel rooms.
What is this, a vacation?
Pretty much. I mean, that's the Air Force, man. Anyway, so when we'd go out to the bar, and we'd run into the Marines. Oh, cool. You knew who they were. I mean, this is Italy. In Italy, you knew who a Marine was. And we'd sit down with them. But after about maybe 2 hours, 10 o'clock, you look at your watch, it's 10 o'clock. Whew, we got to go. This is getting a little too rough in here.
Yeah, they're a little wild. They know how to party hard.
The party would get loud, and Italians do not get loud in bars no.
I'm shocked.
No, Italians do not get loud. You're thinking of Chicago Italians. You're thinking of New York Italians.
No. Yeah, I wasn't thinking that at all. I was just thinking when a human being in a group, I should say a large crowd of human beings, all are drinking, can get loud.
Yeah, but you got a lot of these Italian boys who are, they get double soy lattes in the morning.
Are they the ones that wear the
tight pants,
the thong Speedo at the beach?
Sure do.
Oh,
sure do. And then they got a new Speedo now. It's only on one side.
Oh,
it goes over one hip.
Is that Italian?
It's European.
Well, regardless of whether it's Italian, you're saying that they wear these things.
Yes.
It goes around one leg.
One leg. Oh, and the whole other hip is cheek and everything completely exposed.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, so the Italian.
You don't have a picture of this?
You can Google it, my friend.
Oh,
make sure you're
using. Put it up on the screen.
Make sure you're using a Mac and and put it on safe search.
Okay, all right.
No, but the Italian boys are guys, young lads in their early 20s, hanging out at the bars. They're not buff guys. They're small. I was a tall 5'11".
Oh, are they the ones that wear the scarf?
Yes.
They're always wearing a scarf. It's like the middle of the summer.
Give me your sunglasses. Give me your sunglasses.
Oh.
This is what they would do at the club at night. At night, they wear their sunglasses would rest above on their eyebrows, and that's part of their attire. At night.
Because if mine are here, they tend to fall. Like gravity kind of kicks in.
They do something that is a cultural. They love being fancy and dressing. Okay. Anyways,
scarf in the middle of summer.
Yep, and they're short too. They're small. They're not very tall people.
Okay.
But anyway, so you see the Marines running around, and they get loud, and everybody's staring at them, and we're at
they like to be stared at. What are you talking about?
Right, and we're at their table, and we have to walk away.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
They probably made fun of you guys as you were walking away.
Anyways, I digress. I know I said that the FBI has a systemic problem, and it's
they want
thing.
people that or they attract people who like power in order to abuse.
But on the other hand, there is still hope, because in the IG report, deep inside, there was an FBI agent that was working on the Hillary Clinton, the Anthony Weiner sex scandal.
Okay.
He was looking at the pedophilia and the things that Anthony Weiner was doing.
Okay, because he is pretty much, he pled guilty to messing around with a 15-year-old.
Right. So the FBI and this agent was looking into it. The agent had found Hillary Clinton emails.
Right. Well, I mean, we knew that there was some of that on there.
And he sent it up the chain of command. And he even says, I admire James Comey. I admire him. He's a good guy. But I'm not part of that thing that they're working on. I don't have nothing to do with that. But look what I found. And here's what he said to the IG in the interview. He said, when I sent it up, all I heard was crickets. What I was hearing was making me uncomfortable, because something was going to come crashing down. And my understanding, which is uninformed because I didn't work the Hillary Clinton matter, my understanding at the time was, I am telling you people, I have private Hillary Clinton emails, number one, and BlackBerry messages, number two. I'm telling you, we have a potentially 10 times the volume that Director Comey said we had when he was on the record.
Oh, that's a bombshell.
He said for months, the FBI dropped the ball, did nothing with any of this information. He gave this information up in September. The FBI came out in October. And James Comey, remember? Mm-hmm. We found new stuff. They had that for almost 60 days. And they did nothing with it, hoping, just in hindsight, just look at it, hoping they could run the clock out.
That's what they're doing. Yeah, they're definitely doing that. And you see that with every aspect of this presidency. Every single thing they're trying to do, it's delay for 8 years. Literally. Don't let any appointments go through. Don't let any evidence of our wrongdoing go through. If we can delay it a full 60 days, we don't give it to them in 59 days. We give it to them on the last 11th hour of the 60th day. And that's only if, in the meantime, we don't find a way to delay it further.
Right.
And that's on this is all hands on deck. Every aspect, down to the most minute detail, they're running the clock out.
And something else, though, the government is all about hurry up and wait. Really, military especially. Hurry, now wait. And I want you to wait 10 times longer than you ever thought you were going to wait.
Right.
You're just going to wait. So they have a problem with that. That's just how they are. Donald Trump was asked about by Steve Ducey's son, Peter Ducey, asked by Peter Ducey, what are you going to get involved? What are you going to do with the Mueller thing? What's going on? Rod Rosenstein, blah, blah. And Trump said, I could get involved if I wanted to, but I'm going to let this play out. And I don't know if he's been told. I don't know if he's that savvy. I don't know. It's very possible all of this is true. He could have been told. He's savvy enough to read the numbers, see the numbers, read the reports, and know for a fact, and Rush Limbaugh's already said it, so maybe that's where he's getting his information as well. The longer this goes on, the higher his ratings go. This is like Bill Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Right. So
the worse they hammered him. And looking back, I was a kid during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, so I didn't really have a dog in the hunt. I wasn't really.
You were a little older than me, and I was like not 20.
But I wasn't reading about it, and I thought it was.
Oh yeah, we didn't. When we were in our early 20s, we were not paying any attention.
Right, and I thought, well, get Clinton by crook or by hook. Who cares? They're crooked. Just get him anyway. Looking back, oh my goodness, you Republicans went the wrong road. You had so much criminal dirt on these dirty deeds, these bastards, the Clintons.
Yeah.
And you run down the road of a blue dress?
Yeah, and he ended up getting off in the Senate. So the way impeachment works is you get impeached by the House, and then the Senate has the hearing, and then if you're convicted, they remove you from office. So the Senate impeaches, and they let him off the hook because they thought that this was a really stupid thing to be going after Clinton on. And, of course, it was a political nightmare for the Republicans. Absolutely. Because as the longer this was going on, the more the public was just like, this is a blue dress, and what are we talking about here? So he was charged with lying to Congress, but it was lying to Congress, and you got to go back to the 90s in mindset. Back then, there was this whole kiss and tell thing that you're really not supposed to do. And I don't care if you put your hand on the Bible. People kind of understood the whole thing of if you're going to be doing something like that, you're going to not be open about it. You're going to basically lie and say, no, nothing happened. And so from that mindset, people were thinking, why are we even asking these kinds of questions in Congress? Right. The fact that he lied to Congress over a question that, private, they just politically it was a nightmare for the Republicans. So that's how.
Did we lose the House or the Senate then? I think shortly after.
It was in '98. So
at one point in time we lost them both.
Well, in a way, we ended up kind of getting the kind of justice you're talking about because they did actually blame Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky scandal for us winning the presidency in 2000.
Okay.
Because it was thought that Clinton was so popular in his 8 years that just like George H.W. Bush rode the coattails of Ronald Reagan to win in 1980.
Oh, no, 88.
That Al Gore would be able to do it too. And, of course, we had that debacle with the hanging chads and all that kind of stuff in Florida. But the fact that George W. Bush ended up winning was blamed on the Monica Lewinsky scandal. So in a way, there was a little justice there anyway. But Al Gore was terrible. We lost the debates, whatever. Plus, I also think there was some intrigue of a son of a president winning the presidency. I think there was some intrigue there.
Oh, okay. Well, cool.
So, anyway.
So real quick, last soundbite from Mark Levin. Here's where he talks about total bias, and Hillary Clinton should be in an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
There's not a single pro-Trump text from any of these FBI agents. There's not a single pro-Trump FBI agent. They're supposed to be objective, but they've politicized it to such an extent. And the reason is, as I said, they had to protect Hillary Clinton because she would have and should have been indicted. So, Hillary, I saw your little tweet today, kind of thinking, well, see, even Comey used his personal email for government business. But, Hillary, you violated the Espionage Act.
Yep.
And Jim Comey protected you. You could very well be in an orange jumpsuit today, and I'm quite serious. But you aren't, and you should thank God for that.
Oh, man, do I have a follow-up question. If I was on that set right there with Mark Levin, I would have said and asked and really wanted a good answer out of him, and he would have probably given me a good answer. It's a shame he didn't just say it right there. why would anybody in the FBI, regardless of their political bias, protect Hillary Clinton? I mean, okay, so they want her to win. All right, that's fine. But if she were indicted, what's that to them? They're just an FBI agent. I mean, it seems like he left out the obvious follow-up, which was, what were they doing that was going to require the protection of the President of the United States?
How bad was James Comey? How much was
and whoever was involved in his ring of illegal activity?
And they knew they needed pardons. They needed higher up.
They needed Hillary Clinton to win, or they were going to go down hard. And so that would be my follow-up question with him on that, for sure.
So here's Donald Trump. Did you know that Hillary died?
What?
Well, apparently Trump refers. This is hysterical. I love his wording. Weissman.
Okay.
Yeah, he was at Hillary Clinton's funeral.
What?
Here's my Donald Trump.
The problem with the Mueller investigation is everybody's got massive conflicts. You have Weissman was at Hillary Clinton's funeral, meaning her party that turned into a funeral. And they were screaming and crying. They were going crazy. How can you have people like this? So you have, I call them the 13 angry Democrats. You have a tremendous animosity. Now, here's the good news. I did nothing wrong. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction. The IG report yesterday went a long way to show that.
Listen to that. Listen to that. People, fake news media trying to hammer him on. He said the IG report said that there was no Russian collusion. I'll explain.
And I think that the Mueller investigation has been totally discredited.
Okay, so he says the IG report that came out about Hillary Clinton's emails showed that there was no Russian collusion.
Okay.
Can you explain that away?
That it showed no Russian collusion?
Right.
I might need your assistance on that one.
Well, Peter Strzok is in the Hillary Clinton email campaign, and he is helping her to get exonerated and to win. Peter Strzok is helping her to get exonerated and to win. And Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, all kinds of hate and anger towards Donald Trump. They hate him. They hate him. They will do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't win. And in the text messages, Peter Strzok loosely informed. I mean, he says you're taking it out of context. You're misconstruing what I was saying. I was just saying I just wanted to comfort Lisa. I just want to make her feel good. I don't really mean what I said.
That's what I would have said in my defense.
It was a text.
I would have said, yeah. I mean, I was just trying to butter her up and make her feel good.
He said, I actually don't remember sending that. That was his first statement. But if I did send it, man, I just try to make her feel good. If you read into the text messages in the IG report, it almost cookie cutter sets up the Russian collusion scandal.
Because
that's the backup.
Because they're telling us that it was fake. So it exonerates Trump.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Now we have an IG report on the Trump-Russia collusion. Did you know that? Supposedly there's going to be an IG report 2.0.
Yeah, I did know that this is just the first of, was it 3? I think there's 3 coming out, but there's going to be another one that's going to come out one day, and it's going to be about. I didn't know. I didn't know what it was going to be about. Is that there was going to be another one? So you're saying it was Russian collusion?
Yeah. And not only that, but again, Trump has said this. Levin has said this. We've said this. There is no crime. There's no criminal crime. There's no law. There's no statute. There's no nothing that says Russia colluding with Trump is illegal in any form.
So what was the safeguard about that? Was that if people were to find out, they would not elect him the second time, or they would fail to elect him the first time if they found out about it before the election?
Well, they're trying to say that the colluding with Putin was to either get money for his campaign, which, the Attorney General New York, the day the IG report was released, filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and all his children
Oh man,
for campaign violation.
We knew that. We knew that was a smokescreen.
Yes,
it came out. It basically is a way to. Okay, so one thing that narratives do. This is an important little lesson. Narratives make let's call it propaganda. Okay. A narrative of the propaganda. It's designed to get a emotional response from the people that are consuming the propaganda. Okay? And when something comes out like the IG report, it's going to make Democrat voters feel like, oh my gosh, we're losing.
Triggered.
We're losing. They're going to get triggered. They're going to do that one where the woman's screaming at the sky.
Yes.
Yeah. So propaganda is designed to get that emotion or to trigger an emotional response in you, particularly with, are we winning? Are we losing? I mean, think of that feeling when your favorite sports team is down an insurmountable deficit.
Right.
Like, let's say your basketball team is losing by 25 points. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is just horrible. Like, you're hoping for a miracle, but you know that it's just not going to happen. Or your football team's down by 35 points. Just insurmountable for the most part. And that's what they don't want you to be feeling when it comes to ousting Trump and preventing a democratically elected president to conduct himself as president. So this is what they're trying to do, and they're trying to convince their constituents that this is working and that they're on their way. So when the IG report comes out, they come out with this lawsuit against Trump and all of his family in order to maintain that feeling of, we're going to get him. We're making progress. Because the IG report was obviously devastating. The Trump Kim Jong-un summit, devastating to them, because in their mind, we're just so close. We're so close to getting him out of there. And this is all emotional. All of this is emotional. And so the deep state and the people who are conducting the coup d'etat, it's important for them politically to maintain this emotional state of the people who are going to support them when they pull the trigger of pulling him out of office, whether it's impeachment or it has to be impeachment. So when that trigger is pulled, it has to be backed up by a majority of Americans. It's how they ended up getting Nixon to resign.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up Nixon.
Yeah.
You know, one of these knucklehead news talking head people, they brought up Watergate again.
Of course. And that's part of it, too. That's part of it, too. As long as and I learned this from Jack Posobiec. I'll give him full credit for it. I'm on the phone with him, and I'm telling him, Jack, why are they not firing everybody? And he said, because it's going to look to the public like, was it Bloody Saturday or something?
Yeah, Bloody Sunday.
Sunday, Saturday, whatever it was, which was what they called what Nixon did when he fired a whole bunch of staffers. Saturday Night Massacre. Yeah. Saturday Night Massacre.
Bill Clinton fired more than anybody.
Yeah, but that doesn't apply. Doesn't apply to Democrats because the people who are forming the narrative are for Democrats and against Republicans. So this is all something that only Republicans are subject to. They're the ones that are subject to trying to get off or being pigeonholed into a script. The script is Watergate. The script is Nixon impeachment.
Right.
They're pigeonholing Trump or trying to. I think they're failing. So I got good news for everybody listening right now. This is a failed attempt. And I tried to tell Jack that too. I said, Jack, nobody's going to buy into that somehow the Trump administration is exactly like the Nixon administration, and that Trump and Nixon are the same. And since we impeached, or we tried to impeach and got him to resign, and it made him believe that he was going to get impeached, that we're going to do the same thing to Trump. And by the way, Trump himself has a different personality than Nixon. He ain't going out like that. He's going to fight until he's dead.
Yes. That's his MO since he young since he was a child. That is Donald Trump's MO. Everybody that's ever taken him to court, they know the onset of the court. You're getting ready to do this. I want you to understand that Donald Trump fights every lawsuit to the bitter end. And just like this AG in New York suing him, Donald Trump claimed, I'm fighting you to the end.
Right.
You couldn't do it before. I'm going to do it now. And even the folks on Fox News were like, oh, Trump should just not do this.
Oh, really?
This is not good. And I was like,
it works every time.
They were saying,
somehow.
Fox News was saying, well, these charges are so serious.
Oh, so it's the seriousness of the allegations, not the nature of the evidence. So
right.
Yeah. So I like the way that he fights back. And you know what? Anytime somebody says anything negative about him, Robert De Niro got a tweet about him, making fun of him, calling him punchy or something like that.
Well, it's just F-U, F Trump, F.
That's what he said about Trump. But Trump responded by name, called out Robert De Niro in a tweet the next, maybe not the next morning because he was in Singapore.
Right.
But when he finally was done with the Kim Jong-un summit, he immediately, like that very morning, he tweeted out some negative stuff by name. Robert De Niro blasted on him, and people are like, that is so unpresidential. Why is he even calling him out? Why is he even bothering himself with attacking or counterpunching these people that are talking bad about him? Well, you know, this is the Emmys.
Yeah.
This was said.
The failed Emmys.
Yeah, he comes out, and the Emmys are watched by millions and millions of people, and it's like a big deal. It's one of the major world-renowned award shows. So there's going to be a big platform there. And so I applaud him for attacking back, counterpunching.
Right.
And so he's not going out like Nixon.
Trump also tweeted out against a candidate this week on his way back from the North Korean summit. And as he tweeted out against it, the individual, whoever it was, the guy, because Trump tweeted out for the woman, we'll keep going. And Donald Trump tweeted out for the woman against the guy. The guy came out and was all upset and said, when has this ever happened? When I lost Republican nomination, when has this ever happened? So we're still going. We're still live. I know the feed cut live, I think, but we're still got everything recorded. So we've got it saved anyways. But
what stopped? The Vimeo?
Might have something or other might have stopped, but it's all right. It's all good, folks. You still got the audio.
So if you're watching the replay, you're
show.
Definitely getting all this,
Yep.
right? Okay.
No, but anyways, here's the big takeaway from all this, folks. The number one thing: Obama lied to to everyone. Obama lied to everyone when he said that there was no. He didn't know anything about Clinton's email server. That's an absolute lie. Obama was one of. How many? A dozen? One of 18 to 20 people that emailed Hillary Clinton on her email server and received emails. James Comey obviously used a Gmail account to conduct business similar to that of Hillary Clinton. However, I'm going to say a Gmail account is much more secure than what Hillary Clinton had. Hillary Clinton in another country, as she's texting and tweeting, wide open to Obama, hostile agents, people against our country, receiving Barack Obama's emails because they hacked Hillary Clinton,
right.
And Obama was bad. Guys, this is just bad.
Do you think he knew? Because that was like the big question. So Vanessa and Bill said that we're not online right now, but that's okay because this will be totally there for replay.
Yep.
So good to go.
Yep.
All right. So I want to know, do you think Barack Obama knew that when he was having email correspondence with his Secretary of State, which in many cases were overseas, that they were being intercepted because of the fact that they were using personal devices that would not have been subject to the kind of security that a government device would have?
I'm not sure if he even cared.
He probably didn't care.
I'm not sure if it's even like a Kim Jong-un, because you got to understand, when Barack Obama won this, he had no idea what he was doing. There were too many doors he didn't know about. There was too much that he didn't know that he didn't know. And he was so arrogant about winning this, thinking that he deserved this in some form or fashion. I think there were so many things outside of his realm that other people were controlling because he didn't know he didn't even know. I honestly believe that. So, and then one other takeaway from this, FBI agents joked Clinton associate who lied would never be charged, questions the legitimacy of the investigation. FBI employee Boom. How did the witness go? Agent 1. Awesome. Lied his ASS off. Went from never inside the SCIF, sensitive compartmental information facility, at residence, that's Hillary Clinton's house, to looking in when it was being constructed, to remove the trash twice, to troubleshoot the secure fax with Hillary Clinton, and a couple times to everything there was a secured fax. I did it with Hillary Clinton. Ridiculous. FBI employee. Would be funny if he was the only guy charged in this deal. Agent 1. I know. For 1001, even if he said the truth and didn't have a clearance when handling the secure fax. Ain't none gonna do SHIT.
Wow.
This is what's going on with the Clintons. So rest assured, your justice is with Donald Trump, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just blown away that the supporters of Hillary Clinton, Democrats, are not waking up and realizing they've had the wool pulled over their eyes.
Right.
They've been lied to, and that Trump has been treated incredibly unfairly. I'll tell you what, if the Republican Party ever did this, if the whole thing was reversed, being a veteran and being a patriotic American...
Oh, I'd rebel against the Republicans.
I would be so disgusted. I'd be like, you can't do that. You aren't supposed to do that. And the thing is that it's not about, they say country over party and blah, 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 which is absolutely true, but it's not just country. It's not some platitude that we're throwing out there. I mean, it's about the Constitution and the idea, a philosophy of self-governing that was put into paper that we call the Constitution, with the 3 branches of government, the Bill of Rights for the people. All of this stuff has to be fiercely defended to the death, which is exactly what we take the oath of office for. And this is our belief and our ideology that governs us. And when you hear about, let's say it was our party that did all this, it's really, really scary to think that a party would take power and load up the bureaucracies with their people in order to give them instructions to utilize the power of the government to usurp a democracy, which is basically usurping the power of the people to be able to select who is governing them.
Right. If they're choosing that this person is to govern, that's the system, whether you like it or not, and you can't do that.
Right.
So real quick, just before we got a few minutes left, I want to just run down why Trump is going to be reelected 2020, 40-plus states. It'll be a landslide, regardless.
50 states.
Okay, regardless of who the Democrats can dig up. I'm serious.
JFK, they're going to put him back together again.
Yeah, something. So real quick, this was put together by Kevin McCullough, townhall.com. He writes this whole article. He says he will 5 reasons Trump will win 40 states in 2020. He will have made Americans believe in American greatness once again. That's flat out. But number 5, foreign policy dominance. He has kept his campaign promises. He has also delivered an American first policy without apology. Number 4,
True.
Stronger might, less war, safer world. Unrelenting in his belief that a strong America makes a safer world.
It's interesting that a lot of people would say, yeah, well, what about bombing Syria like he did, all the gas attack, and then he had to intervene, just pull back and all that. My thing about that was, if you look at the really big picture, zoom way out, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, his response to that, number 1 was minimal on our part, but number 2, probably prevented future problems. So I think that I agree with his number 4.
Number 4. Number 3, his base is strongest of the era. Folks, these are numbers that have not been seen in generations. This should comfort you a little bit. His base is strongest of an era. At 2 years into his term, over 500 days, his base of support, he grew to support his candidacy, stands almost unmoved from his inauguration at 87%. The only president in the modern era that bests him was George W. Bush in the immediate aftermath of 9/11.
Yeah, that was that wasn't a good example because
we chose country over
right. We rallied behind him just like all the other presidents in the past who've met that kind of adversity.
And proving people wrong has been one of President Trump's most endearing features since gaining office. And number 2, he will garner record African American support. This should really make you sleep better at night.
People are underestimating this. I mean, with the Kanye West and Candace Owens and just I've been paying attention to politics very closely since about 2000 and loosely before that. But I was obsessed with it from the moment the Hanging Chads thing happened. I mean, obsessed. It was a daily thing for me to consume what was going on in politics. And I'm going to tell you right now, Black American voters were either voting Democrat and defending Democrat, or they were very, 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 very quiet. And we know that at least 5% of Black Americans are voting Republican in the past, at minimum.
The highest ever was 11.
Okay.
That's the highest.
That's like 1 out of 9.
And it happened once. I think it happened once.
So out of every 9, okay, at the very, very best the Republicans ever did, 1 out of every 9 black voters that you would run into actually voted Republican, which that sounds higher than what we've observed because no Black American voter I've ever met would say, yeah, well, except for like Charles Payne, who, by the way, voted for Barack Obama.
And apologized, and I accept his apology. Not only that, but he follows us on
some
Twitter.
some of the various Republican leaders now they're all over YouTube. They're all over Twitter. I'm telling you right now, this is a whole different animal. Very vocal. I'm talking about just your average Joe that has a Twitter account, your average Joe that has a camera and a YouTube account are now totally out there saying, yeah, I'm Republican, and I wish everybody else was.
Yep, absolutely. So he'll garner African-American support. Trump will, and I said the highest ever for GOP was 11. Like all GOP presidents in the era, not likely gain the majority of African-American votes. That will never happen. 51%, I don't see that happening in a long time. Even increasing of 15 to 20% of their overall votes would trigger a seismic landslide.
Which is why I think that he could win certain states that we just think
if he gets
possible.
If he gets 15%, if he goes from 11 and he goes to 15%, 15 to 20, it's a seismic landslide. That's 50 states. Of their overall votes, seismic landslide. President Trump invites sports figures to the White House, listens to their legitimate complaints, and plots solutions. I would not be surprised if he were to break 30% African-American support in 2020. That's unrealistic in my mind.
I think it's possible.
But anything's possible nowadays.
That would be unbelievable, actually.
I would go out running around hugging everybody.
But the whole kneeling during the national anthem thing for the NFL is obviously something that a lot of people are really, really strong-minded on. So we'll have to see where that goes.
And lastly, jobs. When people used to not having the dignity of work, they will be exceedingly hesitant to turn to options that will adversely affect that reality. With the economy growing 4 to 6% annually, which is possible by 2020, and unemployment bouncing below 4%, along with the greatest number of workforce participants in 20 years, people simply vote their pocketbook. And I've got incredible news this week. And the writer goes on to say, in 2006, I was right. 4 out of 5 conditions for Obama should at minimum 3 of the 5 conditions hold. I believe Trump will be overwhelmingly reelected, irrespective of Democrats.
Wow.
Okay, now with that being said, Trump's birthday this week, his birthday present, his birthday surprise, unemployment claims dropped to the lowest level since 1973. It dropped to the lowest levels 1 month before I was born.
Wow.
May of 1973.
And you're old.
I am real old. 44 years, folks. The news for the second quarter looks even better. J.P. Morgan economists see the economy growing at 4% for the quarter. Macroeconomics advisor forecast 4.4% GDP growth. The Atlantic Fed GDP Now forecasts 4.8% possible growth for the second quarter. It is booming. Jobless claims, I said booming. 4-week moving average claims considered better indicator of jobs markets. Unemployment benefits dropped $1.7 million to the lowest ever. Retail sales, boom. Biggest rise in retail sales in 6 months, doubled all expectations. And this is really awesome. This is kind of inside ball game. The Fed chief, Jerome Powell, goes populist. That's the title of the article by Breitbart. He says the main key takeaway is that the economy is doing very well. Most people who want to find jobs are finding them, and unemployment and inflation are low. Powell said, as chairman, I hope to foster a conversation about what the Fed is doing to foster a strong, resilient economy that will give us more opportunities to explain our actions and to answer your questions. That's I love to hear that kind of stuff, be open and transparent. And then we had Vox, which is an awful thing. Trump was just nominated for Nobel Peace Prize, and that's not the first time. This will never happen.
That's not the first time he was nominated?
No, he's nominated last year by the same group out of Norway.
Right.
Same conservative political
this time it's a no-brainer and whatever. Hopefully he gets it, just because, even though it's a completely discredited organization, so...
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Look at the people that they elected. It's just unbelievable. Or the people that they've actually done and given it to. It's unbelievable. Obama got it for doing nothing. Anyways.
That's the startling bell that Kat hates to hear.
And she didn't get to hear it today.
Well, she will. She'll watch the rest of this.
Watch the rest of the show. All right, everybody, share this with your friends and your family. Follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on... Instagram, everywhere. We're all over the place. Go to smithradio.com. Get everything.
See you guys next time.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.